Putin. So let's be clear. This is an armed insurrection, a coup d'etat being orchestrated by Yevgeny Prigozhin using the combat forces of a private military contractor to forcibly remove the constitutionally mandated and instituted government of Russia. I will say this, that events have gone far beyond what Sky News is reporting. Wagner troops have pushed through the city of Voronezh and are heading towards Moscow. They're being actively engaged by Russian air. Helicopters are destroying Wagner vehicles on the highway. This isn't a machine gun nest that's being established out of Moscow. Thousands, tens of thousands of troops are being assembled, including heavy armor, artillery. And Putin has basically said, take the gloves off, put this thing down, and put it down now. The Chechen forces, the Akhmat special forces, are being sent to Rostov right now. This is not a situation that's going to last very long. It will be violently suppressed, or at least attempted to be. Wagner made certain assumptions. Prigozhin made certain assumptions. So what a lot of people didn't know is that 2 days ago, prior to this, the Ukrainian intelligence service, they had a series of covert cells that were being positioned in Moscow, were uncovered by the FSB, Russian security, and rounded up. It appears that these cells were supposed to be in place in Moscow so that as Prigozhin began to move towards Moscow, they would carry out a series of attacks, explosions, terrorist events that would terrorize the Russian people, reinforce the notion that Putin was an ineffective leader, and therefore the people of Moscow would welcome Wagner with open arms. This is a concerted effort between Wagner, the Ukrainian intelligence service, and their Western sponsors, in particular the British, to achieve what they've always been looking for, which is what they call a Moscow Maidan moment. We've discussed this. The only way that Ukraine could possibly win this war is if Russia implodes. And having been defeated on the battlefield, we see that, kudos to them. They recruited Prigozhin. There's no doubt in my mind that Yevgeny Prigozhin is working on behalf of foreign intelligence services, carrying out their tasks. And that task is to collapse the government of Vladimir Putin. I personally believe that he won't succeed, but that's what's happening this morning.
Are among those foreign intelligence services the CIA?
Of course, the CIA is there, but I think the lead agency here is the British intelligence, if for no other reason that it. Look, we have to confront the fact that Joe Biden is not fully there right now. Right. And to carry out something like this, the CIA would need presidential findings that would have to be articulated to Congress. And I don't think our commander-in-chief is positioned to do that. So the CIA, I believe, is providing a supporting role to the British, who have taken the lead on this because their system is a little bit more competent.
Before we get to what President Putin said last night, at the same time that this is happening, the president of Belarus fled the country. Is there also a Wagner instigated or CIA supported, or both, coup going on there?
Well, first of all, the president of Belarus has not fled the country. That's fake information. There's also information that Putin has fled Moscow, running to St. Petersburg. That's fake information as well.
Welcome to a special weird episode of the Nick and CJ show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Nick. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin'? My friends, my family. Welcome. Both we got different backgrounds for both of us. It's funny how both me and CJ both went through some housing issues, but I think I'm about to tail end of mine.
I'm just beginning mine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had lots of going on because you guys know, move is fucking hectic in hell. I was watching this weekend. I was like, this weekend was fucking crazy, man. This weekend was crazy, and this weekend also another great example on why you take everything that comes from Western news sources with a grain of salt. Like we saw Western media, and I was just watching. I couldn't go live at all this weekend. I'm testing out different things. I got to fix my internet here. I'm closer to my router now. I hope that helps until we find a more permanent solution. But I watching this weekend, you see a lot of Western journalists and Western neocons making asses of themselves, essentially. There was a massive premature ejaculation from the neocons, expecting that Russia is going to fall, expecting that there was this civil war that was going to happen. I think this event show how desperate the West is, and also show the Ukraine side know they're not going to win. Like when you saw the response to this news, I would watch this whole thing like, yo, this is crazy. I'm very interested in how this is going to play out. This guy about to get fucking whacked. This guy gonna get destroyed. Like soon as like the news of Prigozhin planning a civil war and trying to dethrone Putin, I'm like, okay, how long is this guy gonna last? How long is this guy gonna last? And Putin was not playing around. He said this is like high treason. But one of the biggest lies that coming from the West regarding this event is that Putin is somehow weak, or he's somehow weakened because of this. Now, I want people to understand that war is a messy thing. Here we go. I'll pop that image out. CJ about to come back. War is a messy thing. We're in a massive superpower that have nuclear capabilities that work with fucking crazy motherfuckers like the Wagner group that just go to war. Like you gotta know, they just go to war, guys. That's Wagner. They go to fucking war, and it's hilarious watching the West and the liberal establishment who, like in France, in England, they're deemed terrorist groups, the Wagner group. And whenever you talk about Nazis in Ukraine, whenever you talk about the Azov Battalion and their crimes, the liberal class will whataboutism to Wagner. CJ, I know you know this as well. They say, well, yes, you guys calling out us arming Nazis in Ukraine. What about Wagner group? What about the terrorists in the Wagner group? And my response to that always shut that down real easy. I'm not supporting arming the Wagner group. We are calling out Azov for the Nazis in Ukraine, but we are arming them, guys. That's the problem. Right. So that excuse never made any sense. But Wagner was enemy number one. Enemy number one. They would say, well, we got Nazis on our side, but they got Wagner. They went from that, CJ, to saying Wagner was freedom fighters, that they are some sort of hero thing. And I'm watching shit this weekend, CJ. I'm like, bro, this is fucking, I cannot wait to jump on RBN.
It was clown shit. Shit. And the thing is, a lot of people with this story, this is the first time they're hearing, we call it Wagner, but I think they pronounce it Wagner or something like that, but Wagner or something like that. But this is not their first conflict being involved. This is like they've been involved in multiple conflicts. This is maybe the one that most Americans have heard about them, but this is not their first conflict. What do you got there, Nick?
I was just playing this up while you speak. This is some examples of the premature ejaculation coming on from the West. Then from the amazing foreign policy thinker and Applebottom, you know, her track record of getting things right. And Applebottom, right? This story in Atlantic, because Atlantic, like, if you're a neocon, we will publish to you. That's what we do. Russia slides into civil war. Is Putin facing his Tsar Nicholas II moment?
But the thing is, Scott Ritter kind of alludes to this. So what you're seeing, Nick, in media that you're pointing out, how they're this premature ejaculation, according to his theory and what Scott Ritter said in that clip, that's a theory. According to his theory, this is what this is all about, so that our newspapers can come out and say, look, Russia's imploding pretty much. And that's essentially, and now you see corporate media kind of falling in line with that theory. If I don't know if it's true or not, but that's his theory.
Yeah. As soon as I saw this, I thought CIA. I didn't like tweet it out because I didn't have any evidence. And we're gonna know the truth of this very soon.
But that should be our reaction. Is that it should be, it's the CIA until it's proven not to be the CIA, is how I look at it. And I do have another clip that is from RT. Now, with media, Nick, and you're pointing out, I don't want you to go through more headlines, but with media, we have to understand, if it's coming from the United States media, don't believe that whatsoever.
At all.
Whatsoever. Like, don't even, it's better for you not to listen to it than to listen to it and let some of that propaganda get into your mind. But I did find this clip on RT, and this is after everything is over. Now they're kind of looking back at it. Go ahead if you're going to say something.
I'm going to just add this, and then we can play the clip just so I can finish my
Absolutely.
overall thought was people were saying that this shows that Putin was weak, and I was mentioning how operating and running a war, a giant nuclear superpower government like Russia is obviously hard, especially when you got crazy motherfuckers like the Wagner and Prigozhin that can cause trouble. But the main thing that I was looking at, and the reason why I didn't think Russia was in any trouble, was that Russia and Putin has widespread support for the war, and many people say this is Putin's war. Putin freaked out, but no, like if you look at the people in government in Russia, when you look at their Congress, when you look at their leaders, everyone support this war. And then if you talk to every single one of them, they will sound just like Putin. They will sound just like someone like, yeah, do you know the NATO got involved with Ukraine in 2014? We told the West not to have NATO encroachments on the border. So this is a unified Russian goal, and this is why they want to dehumanize Putin and turn to black and white evil nonsense. Because if you do that, if you make it just one villain, it's easier to demonize the objective. But if you explain that they have national defense interests, when a lot of Russians have relatives in Ukraine that are ethnic Russian who are being fucking violently suppressed by the Azov movement and the fascist movement in Ukraine, and this is something that the national culture supports. That's why Putin has a 70-75% approval rating, which is unheard of in the West. Unheard of. So the thing is, like, if you're gonna have a civil war, a mutiny, not only do you need military strength, you need military officers to rebel, and then you need public sentiment. And at no point did Wagner ever had that. You know what I mean? At no point did they ever have that. So that's why I said in the beginning when this popped out, like, holy shit, this is extremely interesting because this guy about to get fucked up. This guy it's gonna be. Trust me, guys. I'm not gonna admit this. I'm not gonna deny this. This is embarrassing for Putin on a global stage to have someone of leadership, someone well esteemed as this Wagner leader come out. There's no denying that. Like, that's why Ukraine, the West run. This is a global embarrassment on Russia. It did not affect the Ukraine war and power dynamics at all, though. Do
you think?
But go ahead.
No, but I was gonna say, do you think, with this happening with Wagner, do you think like countries in the future are gonna second think hiring mercenaries for this type of work? Because these are just hired so if they're hired, that means they don't have any sort of loyalty that a sort of homegrown soldiers would have.
Go ahead. In the story, especially in the West, they're not talking about this. One of the reasons why this sued over really quickly is because a lot of the Wagner troops strongly believe in Russia's agenda and Putin's agenda. A lot of them was confused during this whole event. And then there's the contract issue as well, where you had the Russian military forces that want to include Wagner into the Russian defense forces. So there are a lot of theories that a lot of the conflict started from that. And through negotiation, they got a lot of security assurances. And the security assurances part is why it's even more hilarious, guys, that liberals and the NAFO left was cheering on Wagner, because you guys know that Wagner was criticizing Putin from the right.
Mm-hmm.
On the Ukraine war. I'll hear this guy's name. I know I struggle pronouncing Prigozhin. Sorry, I'm in practice.
Yeah, we all know. I'll put a picture up in a minute.
It's tough though, because I read my news most of the time. That's why it's a struggle. But I've seen this guy in headlines a few times, and every time I seen him in headlines, it was him criticizing Russia. Like, why we slow rolling this Ukraine thing? We need to fucking kill these Nazis and these Ukrainian scumbags. And so if liberals thought Putin was bad, there was no elegance among the leaders of the Wagner group when it came to the Ukraine war. We need to slaughter these motherfuckers right now. We need more weapons, and you are pussyfooting this war. And that was everything I heard from these people. And so when they was negotiating for security clearances, they are asking for more weapons, asking for more technical support, and more support for the Russian government in order to subjugate Ukraine more. And now they're closer to Kiev now. That's why people saying this was some sort of 3D chess by Wagner, because they wanted to increase their presence and their power in the war. And this is the best way to do it, because now they negotiated contracts with the Russian Defense Force, the Russian ministry as well. Mm-hmm. So they're getting incorporated instead of just being private contractors. They getting more security insurances, and they closer to Kiev. as all this is happening, which is not good news for the West, you have liberals like, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh my God, Putin is getting weak. I'm like, dude, this is hilarious. This is hilarious that they don't know what's happening here. And in Russia, if anything, is stronger and more united in their conquest to take out Ukraine. If anything, there's more pressure on Putin. This is why I say it's not all good for Putin. Because now there's more pressure to wipe out, to get this Ukraine war finished, to put more effort into this war than they have been doing with this slow roll strategy that many people in the Wagner group disagree with. But anyway, let's continue the clip. There's much to say on this. So go ahead.
I'm sure you'll or both of us will probably stop it at points just to make. But what I like about this video is because they kind of go through the events by the day and the time it happened. Go ahead.
I'm gonna read this comment. This is a good one. This is from Kroki. Putin, and this is my thought as well, because when people on the West say that Putin's been weakened by this, it's just pure hopium. Pure hopium. I will admit, and anyone who's rational will admit, this is an embarrassing international politics moment for Putin. Like, politically, this does not look good for him, right? But in terms of like actually changing the strength of the Ukraine war, his grip among Russian power, this shows that the Russian people, the Russian government, and the military forces are more united behind Putin. I'm gonna show you guys a quote I found 20 minutes before the stream where Putin, like, yeah, this moment is actually great because it shows how unified we are. We had an attempted coup, an armed uprising, and it was squashed immediately because people said, "Calm the fuck down." So that shows that Putin has unified strength. Now compare what happened in France and England. I'm gonna have another TikTok video on this tomorrow. Like, when you look at France and England, there's massive protests, NATO protests, nonstop. You got the UK, they cannot keep a prime minister. There's a story I'm gonna cover here in one of our stories later after our foreign policy hour, where Democrats are freaking out. I don't know if you saw this story as well, CJ. Democrats are freaking out that Trump's gonna win again because there's another poll. There's another poll that showed Biden.
Just came out.
Yeah, I think you may have seen it too. There's no poll that showed Biden's up by 3, which is not good because you need to win the electoral college. Right. So if Biden's up by 3 in the national poll, that means he loses. So this poll came out, and dumb liberals like, yeah, Biden is up. Meanwhile, everyone who knows what's going on, like, holy shit, this is horrible for us. Anyway,
I think it's something like in a national poll, the Democrats have to be up by like something like 6 or 7% just for it to be even. So if anything less than that, that means that the GOP is up. Like, you don't want that to be at all. But this clip breaks down some of the events. But go ahead.
Oh, sorry, CJ. But my point was, and then we get to the video, was France Emmanuel Macron completely lost faith for his people. Protests all the time that are not covered in the West. The UK cannot keep a leader. In the United States, we about to get Donald fucking Trump again. And you guys talking about Putin is weakened? The neoliberal establishment is weakened. But sorry, go ahead, CJ. I just had to make
you said that. I got to insert this part, and I think this is why it's such a. I just feel like over the years they've been going after Trump, but it's been an uptick ever since he's been like, "No, I'm going to stop the Ukraine war." Now, imagine this, Nick. The Ukraine war is sort of like testing ground for the real war against China.
Yeah,
if,
for sure.
If Trump comes in, do you think that kind of alters their plan? It's already been altered because the first plan was to elect Hillary Clinton and have had this war 3 or 4 years earlier than it actually happened. Now, if Trump comes back in, he kind of foils their plans again, and that's why you see all of this uptick in rhetoric against him and just the talking points about Trump and winning again. And it's a real fear factor, and that's why I'm like, they're really going to come after Cornel West because he really is going to pull the rug out of Biden is already weak as fuck. He's already weak.
Sorry, CJ, but it's what I learned. I already see liberals rewriting Dr. Cornel West's history. They're already doing it. They're already pretending that he's like this long time right wing. We'll prepare a segment, and we're gonna have some. We're gonna do it throughout the week, but you guys will see what I'm talking about. But CJ, go ahead. We can get to the clip now.
Yeah, let's play the video. Okay, let's get to the video. This is a pretty good video. It's about almost 5 minutes long. I don't think we're gonna play all of it, but we certainly want to revisit some of the events of what happened. And let's listen.
The bloodshed here in Rostov-on-Don had been averted. Members of Wagner private military company have now left the city. We are right next to the headquarters of the military here in Rostov-on-Don, and it's now back under their control. You can see military police here. You can see the guys are back to work. However, the consequences of this armed mutiny remains. Take a look at this gate. It's been destroyed by tanks of the Wagner military group. There are 10 tracks on the street as well.
I must say, Nick, this is a pretty clean city if the Wagner group was really trying to do damage. This looks like a regular city, like nothing happened. Go ahead.
I don't know if how much you were paying attention on Twitter, but our good friend of the show, Fiorella Isabel from the Convo Couch.
Yes.
He lives in Moscow.
Yes.
There was Carl Za, also friend of the show. We had him on a few times. He's in Moscow for whatever fucking like Carl Za should be doing the fucking thing. Like Carl Za is every fucking where. I don't know how he fucking does it. He's fucking everywhere. Like I see a clip from him. Like, yeah, I'm in Taiwan right now. What? How the fuck you get over there? He's like, yeah, I'm in Beijing. Reporting on the ground. Now, Carl Za, he was like, I'm in Moscow. I'm like, how the fuck is he doing this? Anyway, so Carl Za, Fiorella Isabel, there was the two people I saw that was on the ground. That was like, as the Western media was saying, Moscow's on fire, tanks is here in the street, gunfire in the streets. They're like showing pictures, selfie, like, bro, everything is normal. Let's go back to my original thesis in the beginning where I said, don't, like, whenever there's any breaking, especially foreign policy news, take everything that the Western media says to you with a grain of salt. Guys, if it wasn't for the internet, they would just be committing massive lies. Yeah. Like, if it wasn't for the internet, we would believe that there was a civil war and they're fighting in Moscow still to this day. And I'm not bullshitting you. They will straight up lie to us and say that there's gunfire, there are Russians dying, bombs in the street, buildings on fire. You want to know how I know? The Korean War was a great example. Yeah. They straight up lied to us about everything that happened. They committed a genocide against the Korean people. And then you had the Vietnam War, which was the first televised war, where you had Vietnamese civilians writing notes on trees to United States soldiers, telling them, like, you guys have been lied to. We have done nothing to you. You guys are invading us and killing us for no reason, because everything that we was told by the government and by our media about the war was a lie. Was a straight up lie, but people had no idea. They had no internet, so they just believed bullshit. So if it wasn't for the internet, they would still be telling you that there's Russians dying in Moscow right now. That Wagner is desperately fighting Russia. They wouldn't give a fuck. They would just lie to us. That's what they did in the past. Yeah. Go ahead, CJ.
All right, let's continue.
Well, but the roads have been deblocked. Now, of course, the situation here was very tense on Saturday, and I tried to gauge people's opinion about what happened here.
They need to sort out their relationship after victory. It broke my heart seeing what happened.
We were worried, but now everything is fine. We are very glad that everything worked out safely and without bloodshed.
In general, the Wagner forces are not bad. They just did a bad thing. I think what took place should never have happened. Though they behaved calmly and polite to citizens. They let people come up to their vehicles, take pictures, but nevertheless, I'm against such actions. They don't improve the authority of our country.
Here in the center of the city and on the outskirts of the city as well, people are now able to move around freely. However, on Saturday, the situation here...
This is very quick, and I'll get back to the video. Yeah. One of the things that Fiorella and Carl Za was posting was they're like, yo, there's people walking down the streets like life is normal, nothing changed. Like, for real, go on the timeline, it'll do it justice. They were literally just posting and showing evidence. There's many other international people I'm not too familiar with that was doing the same as well. They're like, as the West saying that Moscow is fucking burning, people just going to the store, walking down the streets the same year. You see how they were trying to present a completely different narrative. But go ahead, let's continue, CJ.
I'm going to come back to this point, 137. But to your point, even in this video, watch this lady she's taking a selfie right there. You see her? She's taking a selfie. They're taking pictures by these tanks, man. This is not what the West is trying to make it out to be. But let's finish the video. They're gonna go through the chronological order. Oops, where am I here? Hold on a second. I may have to refresh this video. So let me refresh the video. But to that point, in the video, you see somebody taking a selfie, and I think it's going to restart here. So let's now play it. Okay, I'm going to scoot it forward to
Take a look at how it all happened.
Hang on one second.
Fired. We heard bangs and explosions as well as people ran for their lives. Take a look at how it all happened.
Claims Russian military attack, announces march on justice to that city. Russian defense minister denies his allegations. Wagner Group moves towards Special Operation Command Center. Or Wagner Group, I should say. Authorities open criminal case against Wagner
the PMC fighters not to make irreparable mistakes, to stop any forceful actions against the Russian people, not to carry out Prigozhin's criminal and treacherous orders, and to take measures to detain him.
Wagner, talks with Deputy Defense Minister and military. Wagner captures Russian Southern Command Center.
7 часов 30 минут утра.
Rostov military facilities, including its airfield, were taken under control. We want to talk with the Chief of Staff and Defense Minister, but they are not here. We have blocked the Rostov region and are headed to Moscow.
Russian law enforcement raid Wagner headquarters in St. Petersburg. Special police detachment deployed to monitor situation. Several more regions launch counter-terrorist operation measures. Russian president addresses the nation.
What we are facing now is treason. Big ambitions and personal interests have led to the betrayal of one's country, one's nation, and the cause for which Wagner's fighters and commanders were fighting along with the armed forces. I repeat, any internal rebellion is a deadly threat to our state, to us as a nation. It's a blow against Russia, against our people, and our action to defend our motherland against such a threat will be harsh.
Wagner column crosses Leftist, I don't know that name, region near Moscow. I don't know the name of that city. Gunfire heard in that city. Wagner reportedly targets Russian attack helicopters. Moscow region prepares defensive lines, numerous checkpoints set up along highways. Prigozhin agrees to leave after mediation talks with Belarusian president. So that's the end of the video. I think it kind of sums up and for those that have no idea what was going on, it does kind of give a chronological order of like the things that happened. And even when they had the tanks, if you notice in the back, there were civilians just kind of walking around. It didn't seem like some of the people, I'm not going to say all, it was at points where there was tanks and soldiers and there were still people kind of just walking around. So I'm not sure how much fear that put into the locals around there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, is it really that much different than the militarized police that we have around here resisting our people in Cop City? So of course, when this happened, as I said, this is a big threat, something that you take seriously, like if you're Putin. So you make sure you have your security in place. I think the West saw that and they overreacted. Like that'd be the same thing as seeing militarized police in Cop City say, "Oh my God, there's a civil war in Atlanta." Like that's the same thing. I think that's close comparison. So I think the first hour, It's going to be a foreign policy hour. We can call it that. For first hour foreign policy. So, because there's a lot of breakdown here. I'm going to show you guys the more recent statements. I saw this literally before the stream. Trying to dig up the most up-to-date news for you guys. And this goes to my point why many people are making an argument. I kind of agree with this, that this does not show that Putin is weak. This shows that war and running a nuclear-armed superpower is a complicated thing, especially when you're dealing with fucking militant groups like Wagner, right? It's just not easy. But this is, I'm going to just read up like the probably first two paragraphs, right? This is what he said today. We have shown supreme consolidation of society and executive authorities at all levels. Practically all Russian society, everyone was united by their sense of responsibility for the fate of the country. Now, this is what Putin was saying in his speech where he was calling him a traitor. Where he said, how can you do this right now where our state as a country, as Russian people, find the neo-Nazi menace is on the line? You choose right now to do this? That's what that was the theme he was getting at. And I think it resonated. That's why most people support him in this country regarding his military operation. Because it's an existential crisis, and many people on the West would admit it. As I showed on Nick at Night, I did a segment where Fox News would say, yeah, Russia views NATO encroachment on the border as an existential crisis, because it is. Anyway, let me continue the statement. Since the very beginning of these events, all the necessary decisions to neutralize the threat were taken and to protect the constitutional order, lives, and safety of civilians. And this is the part why you see headlines I showed you before where people thought like this was the civil war in Russia, because obviously you take this threat seriously if you're Russia. And this is why I was watching this unfold during this weekend. And I'm like, this dude, anyone who's trying to do this rebellion about to get fucking slaughtered. And this is show you how disgusting the liberal order is, because they're just cheering for chaos. Like, so they know Wagner are terrorists because they got them on their terrorist group list. So it shows they don't care about the Russian people, because they were more than happy and excited to see a civil war in Russia where Russians are killing Russians. And then when Russians didn't kill Russians in Russia, in Moscow, you saw massive disappointment. Massive disappointment. Second paragraph do be last one I read, because it shows the mindset that Putin has. And a lot of it is PR. Obviously, this is you want to puff your chest up, make sure you're strong as a country. But when I analyze it in a neutral way, when you see the strong connection between Russia and Belarus, when you see the people in high chain military command, multiple politicians, and the society at large reject this coup attempt in favor of uniting behind a solid agenda and goal of taking all the Azov neo-Nazi Western NATO scum, I think that shows how united and powerful Russia actually is. And if the West was actually hoping that this would be the miracle Hail Mary they need to win the war, it just shows how weak they are, that they need this to win. Right? Do you think Putin just sitting here hoping that there's a United States civil war, there's a NATO civil war to win? No, he's not weak enough to hedge his bets on that, like the NATO Western regimes apparently are. Last paragraph I'll read and I'll move on, because I got a lot to cover. Once again, our first hour is going to be foreign policy, and we get some more fun stuff. The armed mutiny would have been suppressed in any case, despite their loss of reason. The participants could not understand that, including the fact that they engaged in criminal actions, splitting apart the country, which is now facing colossal external threats and pressure. You guys see this talking point that Putin is using? Whether you agree with it or not, I more agree with. Like, I see exactly what you're doing here. But this talking point is extremely effective at shutting down any public support that Wagner would have gotten during this coup. Which is why when I saw this going down, I saw them using this talking point. I'm like, dude, this is gonna land, and their little coup is gonna fall flat, exactly what it did, because most people, including the Wagner groups that were associated into the Russian military forces, because they agree that Russia is facing a colossal threat, they don't want to weaken the country over what? This guy? Over one guy disapproval of Putin? None. Now they believe it's not worth it. And once again, whether my personal opinion does not matter. I am telling you guys what the people in Russia are feeling, the situation with Wagner and the Russian government. Right? So, actually, I think I cut off there because you guys see his appeal. It's a very long statement. This is like 5-minute video. But I just want to give you guys, I'll read the last part. Actually, yeah, the last part is a good way to conclude. Look at this part here. He said, but I'm sure that this will be a choice of the Russian warriors who realize their tragic mistakes. I'm grateful to the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, for his efforts and contribution to the peaceful resolution of the situation. I've been learning more about Lukashenko. He nationalized a lot of his industries. Like, he straight up, Belarus did not, and I'm learning more about Belarus, and that's something I'm trying to work on. Belarus did not go through neoliberal shock therapy of capitalism because they rejected Western colonialism and having American capital and companies exploit their workers, and they side more on the side of the Soviet Union, Russia, and more of the DPRK China, and this is why the West hate them. So I've been learning about Belarus. I'm like, man, they got some based ass geopolitical politics. I don't know a lot about the domestics, but on the geopolitical stage, I see Belarus been base as hell. And that's why Lukashenko came together to make this deal. And when you see the Western media talk about Lukashenko, they have nothing but disdain for that motherfucker. I've been watching how they cover him. I saw Morning Joe. They're like, he's just a Putin fucking ship. They're talking about him like he has no agency, as if he's not wedging like what geopolitical world order had his best country's heart, right? Like, it obviously in his best country's interest to follow the Russian, Chinese path. But if you don't bow to the West, if you don't demonize their enemies, you're just reduced to being a shill of their enemies. So why is he a Putin shill? Why is he a Putin sycophant? As they labeled this guy in the media that for de-escalating the situation. Why is it every time you talk about man number crime, we're gonna use this standard. Every time you talk about Boris Johnson, you say Boris Johnson, the simp of Joe Biden. How about that? How about we do that with every single European politician? Emmanuel Macron, the simp of the United States. He's a puppet of the United States. Why don't they say that? Because that's essentially what it is. But anyway, let me get to my next few receipts. Anything you want to add? Because I have a few things I want to quickly run by. Like I said, this would be the foreign policy hour. I
have a video also from RT where they're commenting on the media. So whenever I can insert that, they're talking about American media. They're talking about American media, and this is pretty laughable.
Yeah, this is I think that's a good transition to your video because I have this saved. I want to read it because I was talking about the neocons are in shambles after promising this Russian coup and I think it showed their desperation. Like, that's just my point of view. Like, they promising a win, they promising a dub. They putting the ones up. They putting the ones up in Ukraine. We got this. Put the ones up. We got this. So as that prediction is failing, as the Ukrainian counteroffensive continues to be pathetic, and they continue to walk it back, they see this event happen, and they are unbelievably giddy. Oh my God, Russians about to kill each other again. They're super excited about that. Then that did happen. So I'm gonna show you a few headlines. I think that a good transition into your video, CJ. Like, here's just a few headlines. This is Alex Rubinstein. The expert says the walls are closing in on Putin. Trust the science. Anyway, here are a few headlines. Putin's armor has been pierced. Here's another one. Prigozhin's mutiny is the beginnings of Putin's end. The walls are closing in on Putin. Like, man, and there's so many of these headlines. This is a cope right here. I wish I could show you like all the cope headlines of this morning. Like, it's like the hangover. They wake up with a hangover this morning, and like, so what happened? Well, I know we said that it was gonna be a coup in Russia. Don't unsubscribe. We're not lying to you. Promise. Don't unsubscribe. The coup is over, but Putin is still in trouble. You see that line? Cope. I know we lied to you guys before when we said that there's going to be a coup in Russia. But trust me, we got explanation. Why coup fails? Now you made the same analysis I just made. And now you explain how Prigozhin didn't have to mass an unsellable force on the Kremlin, but he did have to make a victory appear inevitable. So Prigozhin never had the will of the Russian people. So when I first heard the story, I was like, this guy's about to get slaughtered. A lot of people are going to die unnecessarily. Right? It's kind of tragic. Meanwhile, they're giddy. Yeah, Russia's going to die because they're sick. They cheer for Russians dying. They're extremely xenophobic. They wanted it to happen. Then it didn't happen. Now they're like, oh my God, so why this fucking loser then wasn't successful? Anyway, I think the coach
They seem disappointed.
Video.
Yeah, they seem disappointed.
Yeah, CJ, I have a segment on this is still on Ukraine and Russia. Obama apparently had a recent interview.
Oh yeah, like, that's one of the topics. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
We can do that,
right,
and then we'll do the Blinken. The Blinken is shorter. I just want to play what he says about Taiwan.
All right, cool. So we got plenty to cover. We're on the same page on that one. So
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So this is another video from RT, very recent. I think it was today or yesterday, after everything had happened, and they're talking about the media, and it's just funny. You can see the headline there. U.S. expected Wagner mutiny attempt to be a lot more violent and bloody. That's the headline. So let's listen.
From bad to good in the blink of an eye, Western media appears to be grappling with an internal dilemma regarding its own convictions. 1 minute branding those fighting on the front lines against Ukrainian forces as Nazis, but the moment they turned their guns around and were marching full steam towards the Kremlin, they were suddenly seen as rebels with a cause, and their evil background was conveniently forgotten. And while Terror Alarm, an accredited private security firm, claims that their tweets are AI generated and with no agenda, in less than a day, they went from calling the group freedom fighters when the mutiny started to labeling them as terrorists after an agreement was reached. But this sudden change of discourse did not go unnoticed online.
Western media never disappoint. When the march began, they became Wagner forces and freedom fighters. After the agreement, they became terrorists again.
It's hilarious how Wagner Group turned from a genocidal militia committing war crimes to an anti-corruption rebellion group in the Western media. If NATO had the chance, they will arm Wagner and call them freedom fighters.
Wait, so are Wagner back to being evil Nazis again? I just bought all the Wagner equals brave freedom fighters merchandise.
And let's add to that apparently the U.S. planned to postpone sanctions against the Wagner group the moment it appeared to be against the Russian government.
Wow, they had planned. I know you're off screen. They had planned to. They delayed the sanctions against the Wagner group when they saw this happening. It's so funny. And Caitlin,
that's why I said this is CIA, man. Like when I saw shit like this, it's like, yeah, this is definitely some fucking West infiltration technique, CIA shit right here. Once again, the CIA got 20,000 officers on the books, guys. So that's why it makes no sense when people call you conspiracy theorists when you think the CIA up to something. So do you think the 20,000 officers that they have on the books are just sitting around twiddling their thumbs doing nothing? I don't know, man. I think they might be trying to get involved in one of the biggest conflicts that we've seen in our generation. That's just me. And remember, that's 20,000 on the books that you can find on Google, nigga. You know what I mean? They got off the book. God knows.
Probably twice that.
Go ahead.
That's so funny. All right.
The worst violator of human rights across the globe.
I gotta say, the shout out to Saeed. He's great. We tweet him all the time. He has a lot of great stuff, especially when it comes to Iran.
Is the United States and its Western allies, because they are the most hypocritical. They speak about human rights. They preach about human rights. They claim to be the great supporters of human rights, but they will support the most dirty of the dirty if it suits their purposes.
Oh, but the amusement does not end with the United States alone. Mikhail Podolyak, the esteemed advisor to Ukrainian president, has been on quite a journey. Merely a month ago, he was labeling Wagner as terrorists. Suddenly, it's the exact opposite. The very same group is now miraculously at the helm of a noble counter-terrorist operation.
Prigozhin's Wagner counter-terrorist operation on the territory of Russia has already led to the capture of Rostov, several federal highways, the headquarters of the Southern District, and SMO. The split between the elites is too obvious. Agreeing and pretending that everything is settled won't work. Prigozhin's perfect zugzwang. It is not possible to go forward, it is impossible to go back. To stand still, they will simply be destroyed. Ammunition is not given. What remains? Be an officially recognized terrorist group and wait for the finale.
And we'll stop it there. But you get the point of the video. It goes on for another 2 minutes, just giving examples of the ridiculousness of it. But we get the gist. It's the same thing, Nick, you were alluding to. Like it's pure cult that's going on right now. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to finish the Wagner segment. Unless you have anything else, I'm gonna play a good clip of George Galloway. Just a 1 minute video. He'll kind of sum it up. I think this is a funny 1 minute summary.
It was the day of the premature ejaculation, an orgiastic fervor of jerks all over the world, but particularly in the English-speaking world. One after another, these journalists, analysts, and politicians, some of them superannuated, lined up to leap over the cliff lemming-like with their absolutely catastrophically wrong takes on what was happening in Russia. Not that it's put them off. The Sunday papers were as if Saturday night had never even happened. And the head of Wagner, who went from being the leader of rapist, murdering scum on the FBI terrorist list, then spent a glorious few hours as a freedom fighter, is back on the terrorist list. And from what I hear, sleeping on a bench in Minsk. You think I'm joking? We've got the exclusive picture. Coming up, fasten your seatbelts.
I think he like George Galloway. I think he nailed it on that 1 minute monologue. So I think that's a great way to wrap this up. Still a few more foreign policy items to cover. Do you have the Obama video? I have it, but do you have it?
I do. Yeah, I can put it up. Yeah, I can put up the Obama video. Do you want to preface it or just bring it right up?
Actually, I'll put it up. I'll put it up because there's a few parts I want to show here, and then you can put up whatever I don't show. I think that works.
Okay.
So I want to do this one first because we were just talking about Russia. I think this kind of fits. You have the Ukrainian neo-Nazi fascist Azov thugs led by Zelensky, who've shown repeatedly that they are not serious about peace. So why do I say that? Because you have the Chinese peace proposal that Putin signed off of, that Lula supports, that AMLO supports. You have all these global leaders that support the Chinese peace proposal, right? And the Chinese peace proposal said, can we just support and acknowledge and respect the sovereignty of countries and peoples? If people have referendums, respect the referendums, respect people's will to be independent, to be part of Russia, be part of Ukraine or whatever. Now, the West don't like this because this leads to the inconvenient fact that Eastern Ukraine and the Donbass, they want to be, the Russian position was for them to be independent, which is why I believe that Russia was not unreasonable from the start of this military operation. So you have people in the Donbass that wanted to be part of Russia. Russia said, no, you can be independent, be an independent buffer state. That's what they want. Ukraine find this unworkable, and they find that as a red line, which is why this conflict continues. Because Zelensky and the fascist thugs in Ukraine refuse to support referendums and respect the sovereignty of peoples. And that includes Crimea. Another reason why Zelensky and Ukraine are not serious about peace is because they said they want Crimea on the table as part of the peace proposals. Deeply psychopathic. So you guys understand, the second that Zelensky said that, he proposed a forever war where there's only one ending, the ending of Ukraine. Because Crimea, Russia giving up Crimea is not going to happen. You're going to have to defeat Russia in hot war that may escalate to nuclear war for that to happen. And Obama about to explain why. Barack Obama about to explain why this is so absurd for the NATO left to support Zelensky. And this is why you have African leaders, you have Lula, AMLO, everyone calls Zelensky a clown. No one respects Zelensky. Only the NATO left does. So I'm gonna allow Obama to explain why it's ridiculous to say that Russia had to give up Crimea in order to be peace talks.
I think the Ukraine of that time is not the Ukraine that we're talking about today. There's a reason why there was not an armed invasion of Crimea, because Crimea was full of a lot of Russian speakers, and there was some sympathy to the view that Russia was representing its interests. The Rada at the time.
Obama using past tense, and I'm gonna ask you guys what changed. Not a goddamn fucking thing. He said there was pro-Russian sentiment in Crimea. It's still there. It's still there. Anyway, I'm gonna allow the clip to continue. This Obama essentially saying like, "Yo, we couldn't contest Crimea because Crimea was pro-Russian." This is as nice as he can possibly say it, guys.
The Ukrainian parliament itself still had a number of Russian sympathizers, and the politics inside Ukraine were more complicated. And part of
then what happened
was both myself, but also Merkel, who I give enormous credit for, had to pull in a lot of other Europeans kicking and screaming to impose the sanctions that we did. I think
you see how they call Barack Obama the scumbag of the highest order. Margaret Kimberley has a great tweet. We need to dig that up. The biggest scumbag that there is. He's caused Ukrainian politicians. Remember, the United States said we need respect for democracy and we need respect for sovereignty of countries. They were the United States pretend. Barack Obama caused Ukrainian politicians Russian sympathizers. You guys hear that? Mm-hmm. This is Barack Obama repeating Azov fascist propaganda. So who are these pro-Russian politicians you're talking about? I don't know. Maybe the politicians talking about we need to respect and have a positive relationship with Russia. We shouldn't join NATO because that violates the Minsk Accord. These are the people that Barack Obama is smearing right now as pro-Russia. And the Azov regime in Ukraine waves a violent political agenda against them, intimidated their supporters, made it so it was impossible for them to assemble without the threat of Nazi violence. But these are the Ukrainians that the NATO left and liberals don't care about, as they got Ukraine flags in their bio. They say stand with Ukraine, but only the fascist ones. If you're 50% of the Ukrainian population who speak Russian, if you have family from Russia, if you have cultural sympathies and ties to Russia, like our sister Zoya, who's from the USSR, she's from Odessa, Ukraine, have family in Ukraine, have family in Russia. According to the NATO left, Zoya is scum that's not worth caring about. That's why I find the NATO left in their position indefensible. And this is why it is a red line. Marianne's position, Bernie Sanders' AOC position, this is the hard cutoff. Where we don't even pretend we're friends anymore. We don't even pretend we're allies. And they be like, oh, we believe in Megan Fraud. Hey, Megan Fraud. That means nothing compared to the fascist thugs that you guys are supporting overseas. And now you guys are voting to give them arms, which is leading to a massive black market boom of weapons and arms. Now, I explained to you guys, I don't believe in giving away our Second Amendment rights. I believe we should have an armed proletariat. But supporting an armed proletariat does not mean supporting a booming black market where terrorists and white supremacists and other people are going to get weapons. No one supports that. Now, you can't, even the most pro-gun people don't support that shit, but that's your policy. Your policy leads to that.
Pro-dumb.
You want to add in there?
No. If you're done with this clip, let me just to provide context.
Go ahead.
Let me, because there's a 30 seconds before he answers, and I want you to hear how she frames it. This is media, and I'm getting this from the Margaret Kimberley tweet. I don't know if this is the one you were talking about. You said we'll bring up Mark, but this is the one I had saved, and this is what Margaret Kimberley
one I found. This is a good one, but there's another one.
Yeah, she put out like 2 or 3.
Margaret was all over this interview. Margaret,
and
Black Jennifer were all over Obama. I love their work.
Yeah. But she says Ukraine is losing. Expect to see Obama a lot. They've told so many lies. They'll need him to help cover up, and he's the most charismatic that they can go to. Now, I'm only going to play the first 30 seconds because then he goes into the answer that you already played. But listen to her, like this. so much. This so doesn't sound like media being unbiased and just trying to figure out. It's so like she's advocating, but they always want to make it seem like it's other people saying this, like she's not advocating. So let's listen.
So obviously hindsight is a great thing. 2020 vision is a great thing, but you experienced while you were in office Putin's first invasion, the annexation of Crimea. And many people said neither you nor the Western allies stood up and put enough red lines around him around that. So what's your reaction to that? And I want to just add also your friend.
Of that time.
My bad. I meant to hit pause because I'm going to play that again. You notice how they go back to 2014 because that's when they're talking about Crimea. Be quiet, girls. That's when they're talking about Crimea with no mention of the overthrow of the president in 2014. No mention of the shelling of the Donbass at all in these interviews. It's omitting is the key. Omitting facts or omitting the parts of the story is one of the number one propaganda tools of U.S. media. It's just don't tell them the whole story so that it's a gap in understanding and they fill it in with whatever they want. But you were going to say something?
Yeah, you can continue the video. That's fine.
Okay, so let's play.
So obviously hindsight is a great thing. 2020 vision is a great thing, but you experienced while you were in office Putin's first invasion, the annexation of Crimea. And many people said neither you nor the Western allies stood up and put enough red lines around him around that. So what's your reaction to that? And I want to just add also your good friend and colleague, Angela Merkel, is under very serious criticism right now. I know you've just met with her recently. Should she have leveraged, Germany's economy, its energy on the addiction to cheap energy in Russia?
Did you hear? That's the part I really wanted to play.
Holy
like they're leveraging, basically saying, do you think they should have went ahead and did the best thing for their economy and their people to have cheaper energy? Do you think that was a good trade-off? That's basically the question she's asking. Go ahead.
So CJ, this is another example of a common theme that we hit on. How the media, despite how crazy our politicians are, the media are more hawkish than even during the Ukraine war.
Yes.
Like they will be questioning Anthony Blinken. I've seen this happen multiple times. They will question Anthony Blinken. They'll question Biden's press secretary and other Biden officials, and they'll be like, "Hey, why aren't you guys doing more for Ukraine?" And guys, I don't think they act a lot, but I swear to God, this is the only question that catches them off guard because they literally look like flabbergasted. Like I've seen Anthony Blinken grilled. They're like, why aren't you sending these weapons? Why aren't you doing more support Ukraine? And Blinken's like, do you realize what we have? he's like, what the fuck? What do you want from us for? And that's like the media got you moment. You know how they pretend to be adversarial. They act adversarial from the right. From the military and the complex behind.
Yes.
So this is another example of this. What she's doing is she's calling out Obama and other European leaders for not being strong enough on Russia.
Basically, she's saying you didn't set up enough red lines in 2014, and that's why we're here. Nothing to do with NATO encroachment. It has to be devoid of any intellect. This is another one. The U.S. like voting population, the American public, like George Carlin always says, they don't want a smart man. They want to dumb you down so you believe literally stuff that's so illogical. That's the only way to believe this. Go ahead, Nick.
This is a good comment by Eric Jones because this is remember the media was pushing for the no-fly zone.
Yes.
Hillary Clinton called for a no-fly zone in Syria, and that should immediately disqualify her for any rational thinker. The second that she said that, she disqualified for being commander-in-chief. But there was people that was pressuring her in the media to take that position. And then when Hillary took that position, they started questioning and pressuring other Democrats and Republicans. They're like, hey, Hillary says she supports a no-fly zone. What about you?
What's your problem?
Fucking insane. I'll read the super chat because I see it, and then we can continue Obama breakdown. Now, I want you guys to remember, Barack Obama, during his debate with Mitt Romney, I remember because I watched this live. I watched this live with my grandpa, my late grandpa. Rest in peace. I remember Barack Obama. Remember that last time I ever voted for Lesser Two Evils? Because Mitt Romney scared the shit out of my teenage self. Barack Obama said, Mitt Romney, why are you getting your foreign policy from the Cold War era? Why are you pretending that Russia's our enemy? And that was a zinger. And that was played in corporate media. Remember he called out Mitt Romney for his hawkishness on Russia?
Yeah.
Where you getting foreign policy from? The Cold War? It was a big zinger. And Obama went from that, and now the Democrat Party are unhinged, anti-Russian, xenophobic animals now in that party. But here's thank you for the $10. And there's a video I have saved of Obama on Ukraine. That's the last clip I have saved for that interview, and then you can find another one if you have one. Thank you for $10, George. Happy Black Daddy Day.
They talking about the thing behind me where I'm at. My sister does stuff at this studio, and that was the last event. They had a Black Father's Day event over here, so that's what that is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see some people talking about the echo, but our boy CJ going through a lot of changes. We going through a lot of changes. We are a network of the proletariat. Shit changes fast in our lives. You guys understand? We're not stable here. We're not stable. So hope you guys understand. Let's get to the next clip of Obama. And this is him talking about Ukraine. And you will never see a NATO leftist successfully debate Ukraine. You'll never see these liberals test their ideas in the public square. This is why they support censorship and deplatforming, because their worldview you cannot defend or justify. So they send Obama out, the most charismatic of them all, to help get people to support the Ukraine war, because they lost like 1/3 of their support compared to last year. And that was as a few months ago. God knows what it's going to be as they get closer to the election, because they still haven't had the public debate, CJ. Wait till the public debate once Trump wins the nomination. Hell, once the Republican nomination starts, like when you're going to have Nikki Haley and Chris Christie debate Donald Trump, maybe Ron DeSantis may join them on that issue. Once the public debate really starts, haven't started yet, guys. Once the election starts, that way American people start paying attention. You're going to have Biden and, God forbid, you're going to have Biden and Bernie Sanders argue against Trump and Matt Gaetz from the right. AOC, Ted Cruz, because all of them going to follow line with Donald Trump getting president. So you're going to have AOC quote tweeting Matt Gaetz complaining about his stance on advocating for peace. Like you guys have no idea how weird things about to get because of the Ukraine issue. So they're gonna need Obama to come out and do stuff like this. Now let's listen to Obama, the most charismatic of them all, right? Let's see how he defends the Ukraine issue. Let's see if it's gonna be a winning issue for them.
When Russia started its illegal invasion, the second invasion of Ukraine, I believe
opposed to Obama's legal invasions and wars, I guess. Talking to one of the most prolific war criminals of the generation. Imagine you talking to the most prolific war criminal, the Michael Jordan of the military-industrial complex, and you talking about some other motherfucker. Unbelievable.
You said that democracies, it's a clarion call, it's a wake-up call. Democracies are getting flabby and feckless. Where does Ukraine, in your view, stand in the fight to preserve democracy?
I think it's vital. It's interesting. Before I left office, I gave speeches not just here in Athens, but also in Hamburg and in London. And one of the arguments I made is, do not take for granted the extraordinary achievement of the European Union and the fact that a continent that was racked by war and bloodshed for centuries was now as prosperous and as peaceful as any in history. And then now we've seen the first war on European soil in recent memory. And I think it was a wake-up call to Europe. And I think it was a wake-up.
Obama, you sneaky motherfucker. Once again, this is
wake-up call to Europe.
And he said the first war we see in Europe. Obama, like, don't get mad at me. I didn't wage war against the Europeans. The guy who turned Libya to a slave state, the first black president who waged war against Africa. But he's bragging to white people, to the white folk. He got on white folk media and said, "Hey, I didn't wage war in your countries." Only Putin did that. This is unbelievable. The biggest Uncle Tom that ever Uncle Tom ever.
That's so coonery, so coon-like to say something like that.
It doesn't get there's no. I'm speechless. No greater portrayal of a people than Obama to black people. He waged war on our people. He destabilized Africa, Libya, killed Gaddafi, started the genocide in Yemen, funded the Palestinian genocide. Like, this guy is the Michael Jordan of scumbags.
Yes.
But he's going in front of white people and saying, "Love me because I didn't wage war on your country."
Obama essentially is the enslaved African that will be the house Negro going out saying, "Master, you don't need to whip these motherfuckers. Give me the whip and let me go out there and do some damage." That's essentially what Obama did, and you saw that with, Black Lives Matters was born out of what Obama was going through. Housing for Black America's percentage of housing, home ownership went down. Black wealth went down under Obama. He went in literally saying, "Look, white folk, I know you let me in. You let me be here. Now let me show you why I deserve to be here, because I'm going to do all this shit to black people." And that's what he did.
Barack Obama once said, "I am very good at killing people." Me, like, what a great joke. He's joking about murdering people. What a great guy. I hate this guy. Like, I'm gonna be old as hell. I'm gonna be 80 years old. I'm like, man, fuck Obama. You know how I'm gonna be that old guy on the porch, like, old man Nick talking about Obama again. Grandpa Nick, don't shut the fuck up about Obama. I cannot emphasize how much damage this motherfucker did to our community, man. Like, and not only just the material, it's he killed the political aspirations of an entire youth. Like, the entire black youth got in politics because of this motherfucker, and now we all hate politics. Everyone my age hate politics, and they won't even. Some people don't even know it's because of him, but it's because of Barack Obama. Nigga, I remember in high school, niggas like, "Obama, nigga was back in politics." Never seen anyone talk about politics before. Now no one gives a fuck no more. I tell you guys a story. My sister said, "Man, I don't give a fuck. Hey, I already know this coming." Oh yeah, guys, I'm so hyped. So I told you guys my family. I'm going a little off topic, but I told you guys my family apolitical, right? So I was talking to my cousin, who I never ever talked about politics before. She been in politics because I got a show now, and she was talking to my aunt, and she was like, I never heard. She's like, my aunt told me from a young age that if you support Democrats or Republican, you are a fucking dumbass. So I never cared. So this literally, like, last week, I was so proud, guys. Like, so I love the fact that my people didn't fall for this shit. Like, can't explain this shit like me. They don't know shit like I do. But my aunt and my cousin never was in politics because they knew it was bullshit. First time they told me this last week. And I think Obama played a big part of this, guys. Nigga, everyone was into Obama, and then he became a piece of shit sellout of the highest order, and that killed political interest in the black community for an entire generation. Anyway,
I think there's a lot of apolitical, or maybe not apolitical people, or just people who are not into it, had that conversation with their parent. I had the same conversation between my dad gives me the humor and the politics. That's where I get that from. And I remember as a kid, maybe 10 years old, he'd be talking and yelling at the TV about politics, and he'd be like, the only way to fix this corruption, I can't say it now. He would say the only way to fix this corruption is so deep seated. You have to put all of them in the building and do something to the building, basically. And he's like, and start all over. That's the only way. He's like, you keep any of them here. There's no way. It's too deep seated corruption. And that was something that always stuck with me, even before I knew the blue-red game. I was just like, wow. Yeah, I'm going with my dad. My dad said this. I'm going with what he said. And that's how I always approached it. Even when I was still quasi supporting the Democratic Party, when I did vote, because I would vote very infrequently because there was nothing that really motivated me. Yeah, and that's but I always had that in the back of my head. I always had that.
And this little side conversation we're having is exactly why I strongly push back at people that pretend that Democrats or black people are pro-Democrat. They'll say, well, Barack Obama and the Democrats got 80-90% of the black vote. That does not mean that black people like Democrats. Because as you just said, there are a lot of people who vote Democrat out happy because they out of their civil service. And there are a lot of people, like people in my family who don't vote, don't pay attention to politics. And remember, this is most black people. Black people had the lowest voter turnout out of the demographics. Over 50% of us don't vote. So that means 50% of us, including my aunt and my cousin. I'm glad I love that I got this new anecdotal story. The same my sister said, the same my dad said, the same my brother. They're not into politics because they know they're full of shit. So when you say that black people like Democrats, you're ignoring at least 50% of black people who are not even engaged because they know it for shit. And then you gotta take independents. Then we didn't get to independents, Republicans. So it's an unbelievably false statement. But anyway, let's continue the clip. I'll let it play all the way through. I think I broke down most of what I wanted to break down here. I'm gonna play the part where he says it again, where he's like, "I didn't wage war against Africa." I'll play this from this part all the way through.
By war and bloodshed for centuries was now as prosperous and as peaceful as any in history. And then now we've seen the first war on European soil in recent memory.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I think it was a wake-up call to Europe. And I think it was a wake-up call to the West and to democracies around the world that the old ways of thinking, might makes right, big countries can do what they want to small countries, that people cannot independently determine their futures, that those forces have to be confronted. Watching the Ukrainians themselves with such courage and bravery fight back, I think that reminded Europe of who they were. And I've been impressed by the degree to which, in not easy circumstances, Europe has stood up. It has provided the aid that was necessary. I think the Biden administration has very deftly managed maintaining that alliance to support Ukraine. And I believe the stakes are high to send a message to somebody like Putin that they are not going to just be able to willy-nilly determine the borders of other countries.
What a scumbag this guy is. Now, he's not the only one from his regime. I mean, because when you listen to this Obama speech, this is fucking Mao sound like a supervillain. Like I told you guys, weaponized hypocrisy is the highest form of corruption. He over here condemning Putin for using the military against a smaller government. Obama, Libya says hi. Syria says hi. Yemen says hi. Like the guy who took 2 wars and turned into 7. The guy who financially put financial stranglehold on the global South, including trying to overthrow Venezuela through financial sanctions, destabilize their entire economy. This guy, I think he has the moral authority to challenge Putin. Do you guys see why we cannot allow them to get away with this? You can see what they're doing. They're using this war to clean up their record. We're the humanitarians. It's Putin and them, the real war criminal. Weaponized hypocrisy is the highest form of corruption. I am telling you guys to memorize that. Because the proletariat must learn this. Because the ruling class think they can just get away with this shit. Get away with this kind of hypocrisy. This hypocrisy, this aggressive form of hypocrisy, this war criminal giving a lecture. I see Vena Catholic. I see you guys comments every once in a while. The guy laughed. He said, war criminal giving a lecture. Are we going to allow them to psyop and trick our culture and manufacture consent without a fight? This is why I started RBN. I will never allow these liberals to get away with this shit. The leftist mafia will. I bet you the leftist mafia not going to call this out. Anyway, there's one more thing I want to get to in this CJ. I pass to you to
absolutely.
I actually have one more foreign policy story I really want to get to. We go a little bit over a foreign policy hour, but we got a lot.
Don't worry, I got all day. My kids are on summer break. Summer break, so I don't have any cutoff time. And I do have a short. I also have another foreign policy. It might be the same. Blinken on Taiwan and the one China policy. It's just a video, and then we can react. But go ahead.
That's actually a segment I had planned, so I'm glad you got that put up. So this is gonna be like a foreign policy nigga, CJ. We got RBN Live tomorrow. So anything we don't cover tomorrow, we'll be on RBN Live tomorrow. So this is John Kerry. We just show you Obama. Now this is John Kerry,
I saw this too. Yeah,
the guy who's supposed to be the savior, our savior against George W. Bush Jr. This shows how far gone the Democratic Party was. Where I don't know if you guys remember, I remember this growing. I didn't know this growing up. I learned this afterwards. Like I wasn't old enough to vote, so I didn't really pay attention to 2004. I remember my 6th grade or 7th grade teacher. I forgot exactly how old I was. She came in, like the right wing would be hella mad at her today. You know they freak out about teachers now. But she came in after George W. Bush Jr. won again, after John Kerry lost. Bro, she had a mental breakdown in the classroom. I would never forget this shit. She's like, bro, our country is shit. So she's like, I still remember this to this day because I'm like, bro, if the internet existed back then, she would have got fired, bro. Because, and I just say her name, I loved her. She was a great teacher. She came in. I can't believe she won. He won again, like in front of us. We had no idea what the fuck was going on. And then that's how I learned. I was like, dude, he won. I just knew he sucked. I was like, this dude won again? What? I thought that John Kerry opposed the war. No, I learned later that John Kerry didn't have a substantive criticism of the war. His criticism of the war was that George W. Bush Jr. wasn't waging it correctly. Like, wait, so he wasn't even anti-war. So you had the easiest guy ever to beat. You had a guy who waged a legal war where you can literally rally an anti-war populace. Like, this is when the height of the Iraq War protest. Instead of doing that, the Democrats ran a guy who was like, let's run. I have my criticism that we're not running the war correctly. This guy, John Kerry, and he still got a lot of influence in the Democrat Party. He was Joe Biden's climate envoy.
Yeah, that's a joke.
And people wonder why Joe Biden sucks on the climate. Anyway, them a preface. I'll shut the fuck up now. I'll read a tweet because it's going to be in French. So I'll read the tweet. It says, so this French TV host asked John Kerry if there isn't a double standard between the United States position on Putin for his war of aggression and the fact that they don't think those standards apply to Bush for Iraq. John Kerry, embarrassed, replies that Iraq wasn't a war of aggression.
I saw this video. I had this video saved too. I didn't know we were going to get time to it. I'm glad to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Nick and CJ foreign policy.
Goodness, this is terrible.
So listen to this.
Vous, les Américains, vous avez commis le crime d'agression en Irak. Et ces pays...
I already kind of, there's no subtitles here, but I think you can hear what Kerry saying, I believe. But this is pretty much Kerry saying the Iraq war isn't a war of aggression. And remember, 2.3 million dead Iraqis. 10 million plus displaced. Conservative numbers.
Pays du Sud disent, mais est-ce qu'il faut juger George Bush? Pourquoi un George Bush n'est pas jugé de la même façon? Vous y seriez favorable?
No.
Non. Pourquoi?
Because there's never even been
parce que
a direct process.
Il n'y a pas eu d'accusation à l'encontre du président Bush. Alors s'il y avait eu des abus de pouvoir, oui. Moi, j'étais contre. J'ai fait la guerre du Vietnam. Il y avait des abus, j'en ai parlé. Et à la fin de la guerre, il y a eu.
Est-ce que ça n'était pas un crime d'agression d'entrer en Irak?
I'm gonna say they put the French commentator over his statement.
Yeah,
but I'll play at least a little. You guys see the raw video, but this is where John Kerry says the United States waging war in Iraq is not a war of aggression. And you guys, this is why I got into independent citizen journalism. And I am not bullshitting you guys when I say this. Like, a lot of people like to mock this shit. Oh, you're a YouTuber. Oh, you're a blogger. Nigga, this shit is important. And I never ever allow people to gaslight me into thinking what I'm doing you're just a YouTuber. No, we need a proletariat pushback against the long-standing tradition of the ruling class just rewriting history. If we don't have citizen journalists, they're going to completely rewrite the history of Iraq. They already rewriting the history of George W. Bush. Already doing it. And there's so much shit in the past, and I'll tell you guys, I'm going to spare you guys a long history story, where they just lie about us, about the genocide of the indigenous people. They lie about us about every fucking war. And then now they banning real topics because this critical race theory culture war. And the ruling class and the imperialists always win and rewrite history. Are we going to allow that to happen? So what they're going to do now in the future with Democrats and liberals, they're going to downplay the effects of the Iraq war. And they're going to hope people will forget over time. They know it's not going to happen immediately. Why didn't they wait 15, 20 years later? And then imagine 2030. Then 2040. Then 2050. 2050, you're going to have John Kerry's grandson. He's going to give a speech how, man, a lot of people misunderstand. George W. Bush, he really went on Iraq with care in his heart. When he waged the war against Iraq, Saddam was evil. The American people was on the side. We made some miscalculations, but it mostly was a positive war. And then you're gonna have some jack off, maybe Jake Tapper's grandkid. Maybe he's gonna be sitting there nodding along. And then, and then 2050, the war on Iraq gonna be forever remembered as a war of us liberating the Iraqi people. You gotta think this is crazy. That's what happened in the past. That literally exactly what happened to every single atrocity that the West committed. It became less egregious, less atrocious. Then we start humanizing people. You know, George W. Bush had slaves. I mean, George Washington had slaves. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln had still support brutal slavery tactics. These people have more flaws, but you gotta start getting that shit. So we gotta that's my long spill on that.
Let me pull up because I found a tweet that has some translation because if you couldn't hear him talking, you know what he says. I found a couple of tweets here that shows the translation of that conversation, even though it's brief, but let me put it up on the screen. And Glenn Greenwald also covers this too, and we'll get to his tweet in just a second. But let's look at this tweet here. We don't need to play the sound. John Kerry, West must hold Putin accountable for Iraq. And the French reporter says, West must hold Putin accountable for Ukraine. And then French reporter says, like Bush with Iraq. And then Kerry says, no. That's when we heard him clearly say no. And he say, but that was a lie, is what the reporter says. And then John Kerry says, no, well, you can see that John Kerry was flustered. He didn't expect this question. He says, well, that has never been a direct accusation. If you don't have the accusation, that doesn't make it exist. Just because somebody doesn't publicly accuse you of that, it's just a bad comeback. But go ahead, and I'll get to the next translation.
He was probably flabbergasted and surprised that this reporter was asking him the follow-up questions. He's like, Macron, you better fucking tighten down in your grip on the media. What the fuck? What the fuck you doing? Why the fuck are these journalists asking us questions? like he probably surprised.
But it speaks to their narrative control is not where it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like they're having these sort of things that happen out of the blue, and they're caught off guard. And this is one of them. But let me go to where is it? Glenn Greenwald's tweet and just read it before we close this topic. And that's this one here. And let me blow it up a little bit and see what Greenwald breaks it down. Glenn says, this is hilarious. John Kerry is on a tour flamboyantly depicting Russia as a rogue state for invading a sovereign country, only for French journalists, and they point out his name, Darius Rochepin, to remind him that the U.S. has invaded multiple countries, and Kerry himself voted to authorize the Iraq war, and then they play it. Let me read this other part too. So this French TV host asked John Kerry if there's any double standard between the U.S. position on Putin for his war of aggression and the fact that they don't think those standards apply to Bush for Iraq. John Kerry, embarrassed, replies, Iraq wasn't a war of aggression. What could he mean by that, Nick? Even from the imperialist standpoint, how would he be able to say that wasn't a war of aggression? Is he trying to say, oh, this is all because of Saddam Hussein? Go ahead. Yeah, there we go.
Well, that's the neocon angle that the Bush administration and the neocons spread during my high school years, that we're there to liberate Iraq, right? So they didn't work for 15 to 20 years. You had Donald Trump call out Jeb Bush for his family war crimes, and that's something I was still hold close to my heart. That moment where Donald Trump said that you guys lied about Iraq. He called out Jeb Bush to his face during the Republican primary. And this is like common knowledge.
Yeah, I
right?
remember.
But now the liberal establishment, because they rehabilitated George W. Bush, now they love the CIA. Now they love the military-industrial complex. Now they offer big profit for Raytheon and et cetera, et cetera. Now they're just straight up trying to rewrite history and use that liberate Iraq line. So the John Kerrys, the Bidens, and the neocons, the Liz Cheney's part of that now. Their narrative around that war is going to be, we try to liberate Iraq, which is a joke. But hey, over time, we're going to change the textbooks. We're going to be repetitive in our propaganda. Oh, them fucking proletariats, they have no networks. They have no way to educate each other. So we're just going to repeat this, and then a few decades, a few generations, we're going to have them repeating it. Oh, you know, they went to liberate Iraq? Oh, 2 million dead. Oh, man, that's just not their fault. Not their fault. That's unfortunate.
Casualty of war.
Liberation. I mean, they were greeted as liberators. You know that, right? You know, like, and you have a lot of people that misunderstood the mission, right? All these accusations of war crimes, Russian disinformation. You see what happened to Julian Assange. That's why they tried to kill Julian Assange. So that shit, that WikiLeaks report, is gonna be wiped from history. If the proletariat allows it. If
it's all up to the proletariat.
If anti-imperialist media didn't exist and we get wiped out, we get censored to death, that's gonna be our reality. If people decide to get if they back down from challenging these people, they get comfortable, they take the position that the NATO left. And I know I'm being dramatic right now, but this is the position of the NATO left, guys. The NATO left surrendered on foreign policy. The NATO left said, Democrat, take the wheel. We're not going to question it. So I'm talking about them. Like, I know it sounds dramatic. I know it sounds like I'm joking, but this is literally their worldview. Let them handle it. We be all right. How ridiculous is that? Anyway,
ridiculous. But yeah, let's get to, we're going. I can't believe, Nick, we've gone no stops. We just, because it's so much. We've both been kind of off and on lately, so we have so much to cover. But let's drop right into Anthony Blinken.
I got another 2 stories. I got to go in 30 minutes, but everything we don't cover, we can cover tomorrow. So
yes.
We're gonna be back on tomorrow. So this, like, we may change the title to like foreign policy. They can CJ foreign policy show. I don't know, but anyway, go ahead, CJ.
Let me just see, because the podcast, the Pod Save America clip, I do.
Oh yeah, we definitely got to get to that. We definitely got to get to that.
Let me play that first, and then if we have time, we'll come back to the Anthony Blinken, because we got to get to that
Blinken,
one.
Do Blinken and then the pod. Those be my last 2.
You can do that. Okay.
Because the Blinken go well with the foreign policy angle, and then we can wrap it on the fun.
Then we can wrap it up with as long as we're able to get to that. And I think that'll cover. Yeah, that'll cover our thumbnail. That means we'll got to everything that's on our thumbnail. It's just that one is we haven't gotten to yet. So then let me pull that back up and let's go to the Anthony Blinken, just to kind of fill out our foreign policy. We didn't plan this to be forein policy, just in it that way because we had so many stories that were. Yeah. Now I just want to show you this before I play the video, and I'm going to read this because it speaks to. Let me just read it. So. The U.S. fears that the communists will win the election in Taiwan. Pro-China political parties are leading the polls in Taiwan, and if these parties win in 2024, they will peacefully join China, which is not to the liking of the United States. Now, there is another tweet I want to read, and then it's on the same video. This is from Mint Press News. Shout out to Mint Press. And then we'll play the video. It's like 30 seconds, and then we'll comment. Mint Press says, quote, "We don't support Taiwan's independence," end quote. And that is coming from Anthony Blinken, which is very surprising considering some of the things that has happened over the last year, including when Nancy Pelosi went over there. But the tweet goes on to say, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken eats humble pie in Beijing, walking back previous reckless statements of aging U.S. President Joe Biden about the status of Taiwan. So now I'm going to go ahead and play the video, which is, I mean, it has to be embarrassing for the United States and him, because they realize these and this is a thorn in their side again. The communists, another thorn in their side. Damn communists. because that's the ones who are sort of voting to reunite with China on the on the Taiwan island. So, were you going to say something before I play it?
Yeah, this segment is really good. We covered Blinken making a similar statement at on Nick at Night, but the fact that he's doubling down on this show that the U.S. State Department really is walking back. And a lot of people misunderstood Biden's initial comment because Biden's an old idiot and he's not technical like the United States State Department wants him to be. So I explained how the United States have engaged in maybe the last decade or so in strategic ambiguity on Taiwan. Like, it's literally a strategy where their official statement is that Taiwan is part of China and we support the one China policy. But they act in a completely different way. But whenever you talk about China and Taiwan, you say we support the one China strategy while you arm Taiwanese separatists. As Nancy Pelosi and then Kevin McCarthy meets with Taiwanese leaders, as you engage with aggressive military operations against the Chinese government in their own waterways in Taiwan, as you violate their own principles and engaging with Taiwanese separatists. So you do that while doing public statements saying, oh, no. What are you talking about? We acknowledge Taiwan as China. We're not being the aggressors here. It's China. You guys see the trick? You guys see how the U.S. is fucking slime balls? Where they purposely trying to mislead, and they call it strategic ambiguity because they want China to fuck up. They want China to misread the United States. So whenever the United States does something aggressive, the United States says, no, come on, man. We acknowledge Taiwan as China. We acknowledge you. Come on, why are you bitching? And China like, no, you're saying that, but Nancy Pelosi's men with Taiwanese separatists. You're literally arming Taiwan. They're like, no, what are you talking about, man? We believe in Taiwan and China as they continue to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, that's my preface to this video because Biden was not supposed to say that he would engage militarily with Taiwan. He was not with China and Taiwan. He was not supposed to say that, even though we know the United States want to do that. That's why it's such a massive gaffe. Because remember, political gaffes are when they tell the truth. So Joe Biden told the truth on what the United States intend to do, which was a massive blow between China and United States relations. Another blow between United States and China relationship was the trips between Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi. China was mocked. Even I mocked them. Like, their response to Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan was militarily and geopolitically weak, but it really destabilized the China-U.S. relationship. In the Biden administration, through the gestures and through these press conferences, is trying to not make peace with China, but they are trying to maintain the face position. They want to be considered the good guy in the exchange with China. But with Biden saying they will go to war with Taiwan, they can't do that. That's why people like Blinken had to clean this up. So anyway, sorry, that's my long explanation about what's going on here, but let's play the video.
No, that's good because it is a short clip. So let's play it. It's about 30 seconds long.
On Taiwan, I reiterated the long-standing U.S. One China policy.
Long-standing.
That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences.
And it stops there, and that's all we need because this is such a walk back, and I think they're getting ahead of the story because they know what's coming. They know the vote is going to be overwhelmingly, or at least they're going to win. Maybe I shouldn't say overwhelmingly, but they know the vote to peacefully rejoin China. It's coming. They have boots on the ground. They have people on the ground who can get a gauge what's coming, and they know overwhelmingly, and they blaming the communists. The communists on the ground there. Go ahead.
They can't get away with the lie forever, guys. The lie that Taiwan wants to leave China, and they're very sneaky about this. When the mainstream media or whenever anti-China liberals talk about this issue, they'll say, polls show that 80% of Taiwan want to maintain independence from China. These polls are saying that the Taiwanese people want to maintain the status quo because they benefit economically with the current relationship they have with China. The current status quo is yes, the Chinese allows the Taiwanese government to have independence. The threat to that is the Taiwanese separatists that the West have backed up, and they got political power because they have money and influence. And the United States backed them up because of that. But among the Taiwanese people, and it was shown in the last election, they want peace. The last thing Taiwanese people want is to become the new Ukraine. So yes, you are running to Taiwanese people who are like, yeah, I will strongly oppose strong China reunification. But the status quo is what they support. They do not want the West to separate Taiwan and China the way the West is trying to do. So that's why liberals, they always repeat this very misleading poll where they say 80% Taiwanese want independence. So that means China is wrong for what they're doing. No, what they're missing out is the poll said that 80% of Taiwanese people want the status quo. Then they twist it to be anti-China. The status quo is what they want maintained. They don't want what the Taiwanese separatists want. Anyway, I think,
now I do have a second clip. Is about a minute long. Let's listen to Carl Za. He's asked about this right here, and it's a 9-minute video, but we're only playing the 60 seconds of his answer because they talk about other stuff too. But let's listen.
I'm joined now in the studio by political analyst and historian and the host of the Silk and Steel podcast, Carl Za.
Now, maybe this is why he's in Moscow, because you say he's everywhere. Maybe he already had appearance scheduled.
Yeah, it's like, bro, this boy is every time I see Carl Za, he's fucking everywhere. I'm jealous as hell. Go ahead.
Yeah. So let's listen.
Great to have you here in studio, in person, and in Moscow, of course. Now, let's start out with this trip by Blinken. How would you assess the importance of the U.S. Secretary of State's visit to China?
It's obviously very important because Blinken's trip has been long anticipated, and both sides have treated as a very important event. But Confucius said, listen to one's words, but watch one's actions. So what we need to wait to see is what action U.S. will take upon the completion of Blinken's trip. I think that's really more important.
To your point, Nick, that is what you were just saying. It's like they're saying one thing and doing something completely opposite. So now that they've reiterated this and we want this, Carl is saying, wait a minute, we love what you're saying, but we need to actually see what the actions are how the actions are gonna follow with the United States. And I think we can end it there.
Yeah, and I have one last more. Go ahead. We can finish the clip.
No, I was saying I accidentally put that back in there. That was a mistake. Go ahead.
All right, so I have one more receipt where we can play on Taiwan because we have done countless propaganda reports now covering unhinged segments over Taiwan and China. And you guys seen the proper left position on this channel. We explained to you guys why the neocons is wrong, what they're getting wrong historically. We have broke this down many, many times. On Nick at Night on Wednesday on our Grand Return show with Zoya's Life. Scared shit out of me. But
they blew a balloon.
We had like damn man. But anyway, we covered some more anti-China unhinged propaganda. And we do the propaganda reports because I think they're very important. We need proletariat pushback against these corporate media neocon talking points. And I know people say this all the time, who watches that? Boomers and Gen X do. So we can't say what Jamie and Russell Brand can say. You know what I mean? They got massive audiences, right?
Yes.
Way more people watches Fox News. Way more people watch Morning Joe than watch our show. Like, we can't do that shit where they're like, way more people watch our show than watch them. That Russell Brand, he can flex on the motherfuckers, right? We can't do that. Way more people watches unhinged, anti-China propaganda unchecked, then you get debunking of it. Like, if you take Danny Haiphong, our channel, if you get look Carlos on, you still got way more anti-China unhinged propaganda when you look at the entire right-wing media sphere, when you look at Fox News, MSNBC, if you combine all of it, they got more influence still over our culture, which is why these segments are so important, which is why I do them over almost every show. This is why I don't mind us dedicating 2 hours to these topics. Because Americans are unbelievably propagandized. This is why I'm glad that we say this for later in the show. Despite everything we just told you, we just did a segment on Wednesday. laughing at Fox News for melting down at Chinese aggression in the South China Sea. They was like, how dare China challenge us in the South China Sea? So, but their propaganda works though. It works. Look at this. You got country boomers and Gen X. People say in response to this poll, they're like, well, who do they poll? Does it really matter? We all know polls are shit. Even though polls are shit, you still analyze them though, right? We know the polling data on here is false. We know we're not getting interviewed, CJ. There wasn't a nigga interviewed in this poll. I guarantee you that. But just because the poll is bad don't mean it's not worth analyzing. Because who are they talking to? They're talking to Gen X and boomers. Why are Gen X and boomer white people so afraid of China? Isn't that worth analyzing? Look at this poll. Majority of Americans support increasing United States military presence near Taiwan to combat China threat. Majority also support increased arms shipments to the island nation. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
We love bragging when we ahead of polls, don't we?
Go ahead,
CJ.
I was going to say corporate media loves bragging when they have polls like this big headline. Have you ever seen them say majorities of Americans support Medicare for all?
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
So
like they love these polls like this. Go ahead.
That's a great point, CJ, because there's a segment we're gonna do tomorrow that we're not gonna fit today. I kind of prefaced it earlier where liberals are melting down at Trump being projected to win the election. Biden is disappointing polls. We hit common things on Nick and CJ a lot. One thing they do in these segments is they cheer on how successful their propaganda has been. And during the Morning Joe segment I may cover when we cover this, they was so sad when they was covering the Trump poll, because it's not only that they're covering the fact that Trump is going to win, it's almost like a report card on how effective their propaganda is.
Yes.
And we covered this before, like they grading their own propaganda. So when they cover the poll, they're like, Americans still support Donald Trump despite all these prosecutions, despite all this propaganda we're doing. So it's like they're so sad because of that. So on that end, their disappointment. Now on this end, with the story, this is Fox News and the China hawks celebrating the success of their propaganda. Every segment that we covered, as ridiculous, are we laughing along? I see the chat laughing along how ridiculous this shit sound to us. Boomers watch this shit like, motherfucking Taiwan. I can't wait to send weapons over there. I gotta get the fucking China. I don't know what's going on in their head. Motherfuckers fucking seething, salivating. You got bloodlust and Chinese bloodlust. Watch these segments with Laura Ingraham. China got killed these motherfuckers. Like what? Anyway, the same thing I said in the beginning of the defund the police polling, which has flipped. We're not like the cowards of the boutique left and they'll let the only support popular position. I see this number, I'm like, we got motherfuckers to educate. People on our side, if you ask people in the black community, they're not gonna give a fuck. I promise you. So everyone, when I tweet this out, because this is a response to my tweet, a lot of people were saying, yeah, like this one bullshit, the poll is shit. But once again, these are real people. Like these are, even the poll is skewed. How we deal with these warmongers that exist among our society. Like once again, this guy is right. This guy is right who call out how the poll is probably garbage. But this is Fox News poll and their propaganda worked among their targeted audience, which I think is worth breaking down. So anyway, I think that wraps up the Taiwan segment. Anything else you want to add? Tomorrow, I'm gonna do the story where it vindicates Matt Arbian once again. Because remember when we covered the Ukraine, and we told you guys, be very careful about Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just because you get the Ukraine war right, does not mean you're a comrade. And a lot of people get this fucking shit twisted. Getting the Ukraine war right is easy. Now you have Matt Gaetz calling to go to war with China over Cuba, because how dare Cuba, a sovereign nation, have the audacity to agree to joint military exercises with another sovereign country. How the United States would never do that. So tomorrow I'm gonna rip them to shreds because we do that for RBN Live tomorrow. But I want to get to the Pod Save America.
Yeah, it's a short clip, and we have a lot to say about it.
This is a good segment to end it on.
Yeah, and I do want to get to that. I do want to show you a tweet. This is an intermission before I get to that. I do want to show you a tweet and just get your reaction of what you thought when you saw this tweet, because I know you saw the tweet, and I'm surprising you with this. This is not at all. This is not at all planned. I'm just surprising you. I forgot about this tweet. I wanted to get your reaction on camera. I think I've already seen your tweet about it, but like, what say you about this? Now we know about the billionaires who lost their lives with the submarine thing, and then we had this guy Nick tweet this out, and he says, "Y'all eat the rich, the ocean eats the rich, and the people celebrate. Y'all, no, not like that." And then somebody responds to this guy and says, "Nobody deserves to die 2 miles under the sea. These jokes are evil and depressing to see." And that guy comes back and says, "Billionaires deserve to die 2 miles under the sea, 5 feet in front of you, in space, over there, over here, anywhere," which is my point. But the point of what I wanted to show you, look at what Kyle says here. Kyle says, "Damn, bro, I just want to tax them more, not torture and murder them." What say you, Nick? What was your reaction? And I know you tweeted about it, but what was your reaction? Can you tell the audience?
I was tweeting about the story. I didn't see Kyle's tweet and all this stuff because I thought the story was fucking funny. It's weird how Americans divide their sympathy. Like, who gets sympathy for what? It starts from the top down. It's very weird. Now, if you're one of the people that say, "I hate to hear a death no matter where it happens," that's okay. That's legitimate. But I promise you, all of those people who say that are nowhere to be found when people are victims of state violence, when people are a victim of war, imperialism. They're nowhere to be found regarding the Palestinians. People think I'm over dramatic. People think I just go for likes and clicks because I talk about the Palestinian issue. I talk about the Yemenis genocide issue. No one gives a fuck about that stuff. But they save their sympathy for billionaires and for the people on top of our society. So this was a story of a billionaire dying because he pushed for relaxed regulation of his submarine business. Now, I don't care how many people get upset. That is objectively hilarious. That is objectively hilarious that you had a billionaire like, "Let's relax regulation. You guys are always, the government always on my fucking ass about regulations." And then you fucking die in an accident. That's
because of the lack of regulations. Yeah. And this is what Margaret Kimberley said. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, CJ. I'll let you continue. But
I was just going to insert what Margaret Kimberley says here.
Yeah,
and she says, "Events like this separate the serious from the unserious. You are unserious. You are on the unserious side." And this was her reaction.
Absolutely based.
What
imagine actually getting emotionally invested in this. Like the most I got into the story, like you saw my tweet. This story was marinated a long time. I literally didn't dive into it. It wasn't worth my time. And I read into the story, and then when I started posting some memes on Twitter because this shit was fucking hilarious. Like anyone who spent any mental energy among the proletariat, your brain is, I'm about to say deep and serious, but that's too mean. You're a victim. Because your mind is colonized. Like, I don't even want to call you unserious. Like, you're so caught up in the sauce. And this is my general view. Like, I see people care about the Kardashians. Like, I see people care, like, you see this celebrity was mean to this celebrity. I'm like, why as workers do we give a fuck about anything that's going on in these millionaires' lives? And why would we care about anything that go on in this boutique culture that we're not a part of? Apparently, everyone that's part of this journey paid at least $200,000, something around this. Yeah. They're not part of our class, not part of our culture. They watch homeless people, they watch poor people die. They looked into. Everyone feel bad for the kid, and obviously the kid dying pretty tragic. But people look into his dad, like he's a son of a billionaire, and then his dad was like in oil and gas, an evil motherfucker. He made money on ill gains. So like they made their money based on suffering and human people, but we both feel bad for these people. You know what? If you have a position of mass empathy, I don't challenge you at all. But what I get upset is it is selective empathy.
Right.
Like you motherfuckers walking over homeless people. You gotta see Rome. Rome, Daniel had a mental breakdown when he saw the conditions of the homeless people in LA. Like Rome really takes the shit to heart, and I do too. We don't cover a lot of Black trauma story. We talk about the concept. We talk about the concept of Black trauma, but we don't cover individual stories because that shit's too fucking hard, man. Because we feel this shit too much. We feel this shit too much.
Yeah,
so that shit is actually shit that we sympathize with. Meanwhile, people don't give a fuck about none of that. They care about celebrities and billionaires. They want our sympathy to go to them first, and then you got monuments being made to these people already. Meanwhile,
what?
I don't got receipts. I saw this on the corner of my eye. You got some places making monuments to these people for like the advance of science or some bullshit. Meanwhile, you got 60,000 Americans before the pandemic died without health care every year. No one gives a shit. You got Americans still who don't support single payer health care. And they're okay with their neighbors going medically bankrupt and dying, but you want to lecture me about having sympathy over billionaires? You want to know why I hurt? You want to know pushback I hurt people? I was laughing at this shit on my timeline, and you have people like, "Oh my God, Nick, you're a monster! Oh my God, Nick, you're not sad. How dare you?"
Somebody emailed us about that. I want to talk to you about Nick's tweet. You see Nick's talking about
someone emailed us.
Email RBN saying, "I want to talk about Nick's tweet. This is too much, guys."
Someone emailed us like, "Man, Nick
where's the email when immigrants boats capsize? Nobody said shit about that though. That happens a lot. Nobody talks about that, but this billionaire and to your point, but I think we can sum that particular part and get to Save America. Yeah, let's play the podcast Save America clip.
Good last first episode.
This is crazy. This is crazy right here.
So
I mean, it's surprising, but it's still like.
Let me do a short preface. Just short preface before we start the video. We know Pod Save America. They're like Obama speechwriters, right? I actually don't listen to Pod Save America. But I will actually give them the Morning Joe recommendation. Like I would, like if you like, I actually think they're Morning Joe level. Like put back.
Oh yeah, for podcasts, for podcasts, yes.
If you guys think, like, I'm not talking about like in terms. I'm talking about in terms of how efficient they are at spreading propaganda. Like you guys see, we look at like the Gen Z Zoomer kids that was for Biden. Like they are horrible propagandists. I think David Pakman, horrible propagandist. Like he is horrible at what he do. That's my opinion. Pod Save America, they are effective Democratic propaganda, and I don't watch them because I guess I don't listen to liberal podcasts, right? But I'll put them in the same category more than Joe. They're a good way to see what the Democrats are saying. That's why if you're an anti-establishment person who want to debunk the neoliberal and Democratic Party talking points, it's good to watch them to see what they're saying. I get these motherfuckers because I'm one step ahead of these people because I already know they're talking about. They have no idea what our talking points is, but I know everything you're gonna say. And even on the Bernie campaign, I used to kill these people because of that. Because I used to watch anti-Bernie shit all the time, so I would know what you say before you even say it. So I think that's the benefit of knowing the messaging that comes from not just Pod Save America, but from the right as well. So we want, as a proletariat, instead of just being dumb leftists like the Marianne Williamson left, like the Bernie Sanders left, and others. We are one step ahead of these motherfuckers. We know exactly what they're gonna say, and we're ahead of them. And that's the culture of the proletariat that RBN is trying to manufacture. Instead of the dumb left that the anti-conspirans want to manufacture. Correct. So Pod Save America reacts to Dr. Cornel West, and I have a poll after this, and this part of the story. We can merge them. Dr. Cornel West is at 5%, 6% in the poll.
It's amazing.
I don't want to spoil it too much, so we can save our analysis. But that is exactly what we're waiting for our third party movement. Dr. Cornel West immediately already way more impactful than RFK and Marianne Williamson. Actually, I do think RFK has them shaking too. I won't front. I think RFK.
I do too.
RFK is having an impact. But this third party shit is a way bigger threat because RFK stands no chance for the primary. They just know they gotta have to rig it more openly. They like when they say RFK, they're like, damn, this is gonna be bad PR. It's gonna be, but it's not a threat to the power. It is inconvenient. But having a third party movement sprung up that can possibly get federal funding, even if they deny, because people say, I saw people respond to me, even Dr. Cornel West get 5%, they're gonna deny them. Even if you get 15%, they will deny on debate stage. That's great PR for our movement.
Yeah.
There's nothing better for us as a movement to show people that this process is illegitimate than for us to get a third party, get 15%, and they deny us on the debate stage.
To me, that's the goal.
Yeah.
To me, that's the goal. Getting to the debate stage, to me, is not the goal. To me, the goal is pushing the Green Party further along as an viable outside party. That's the goal. And I think, Nick, that's why it's, like I said, along with Biden's polling, along with Trump, all the stuff that Trump has gone through, he is still like up there. Even with these charges, Republicans are sticking with him. His polls within the Republican Party has gone up. So, and then you have Cornel West drop in. They're like, damn, because they could control Marianne Williamson and RFK. They can go, hey, we just rig our primaries and get these fuckers out of here. But with the Green Party, there's a lot more they got to do, and they're going to take a lot more hits. They're going to be taking people to court, and they're going to be called out for not being with democracy. So that's the first thing they're going to be doing, and then they're going to be vote shaming, and that's what Pod Save America talks about here. So let's listen to the clip. It's very short. Case Study QB clip. Shout out Case Study QB. Here we go.
If the people who voted for Jill Stein, just Jill Stein, in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania had voted for Hillary instead, Donald Trump would have never become president.
This is, I gotta address, because this is one of my pet peeves. They act like for example, take Nick and I. We're Green Party voters. We wouldn't vote for Jill Stein if she's on the ballot. Nick, what are you gonna do if Jill Stein is not on the ballot in that year? What would you vote for Hillary? I would not. I would just not vote for her. So this is such a psyop of those people would just automatically vote as if those are Democratic voters. And this is why they use words like siphoning, take it away, like we're extracting it from the Democratic Party. These are just brand new voters who would not participate if not for a Green Party person on the ballot. And that's how I see it.
It's a shame that this even had to be explained to them. Play that part again, because it's only 9 seconds. Play that part again so you guys can hear it again. Because this logic is so absurd. Play the first 9 seconds again.
If the people who voted for Jill Stein, just Jill Stein, in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania had voted for Hillary instead, Donald Trump would have never become president.
So this is unbelievably absurd. Because you see how they assume that Green Party voters are aligned with the Democratic Party? Mm-hmm. Do you guys think, based on just this show, let alone, it's like if you're a new viewer, let alone if you know what anything else I've done, how aligned do you think politically I am to Joe Biden? I am as far away from Joe Biden I am as Donald Trump. So the idea that I will vote for Hillary Clinton, let's use their example, Hillary Clinton. I voted for Jill Stein in 2016, even before I was a fucking Marxist. I wasn't a socialist back then. I just said, hell, fuck no. Fuck no. Even before I learned theory, I was an educator. I was like, fuck no. No way. Your guys' values are so different from mine. The idea that I would join your party is absurd, and it's literally just hopium. You might as well say, hey, libertarians vote for us, we would have won.
Yeah.
Hey, we got the non-voters vote for us, we would have won. You might as well just say any scenario, because that's how far away I am from you. But let's go by their claim that somehow the Democratic Party is the left party, the Green Party the left party, so the left party must support the bigger left party. That's the dumb mindset they actually presenting. But let's go along with it, because we can go either way, CJ. Let's say the Green Party left, let's say the Democratic Party left, just go on, just accept this dumb premise. So since the Green Party is the left party, all the Green Party votes should go to Democrat, right?
Right.
You want to know what party is 3 times bigger than the Green Party? The right-wing post-duopoly party, the Libertarians. Mm-hmm. The Libertarian Party is 3 times bigger than the Green Party. So if, based on your premise, if the smaller right-wing party had to vote for the bigger right-wing party, the Libertarian vote for the Republicans, you got to know Donald Trump wins by a larger margin if you take Trump. So why does it go one way? Why does it go one way? But why does this fantasy, like this is political fan fiction? Like, oh, if only we took deep votes, if we had more votes, we would have won. Yeah, if only if only your favorite football team scored more points than the opposing team, they would win. It's bullshit. Anyway, we're only 9 seconds in, and these people are Obama's speechwriters, guys. These are considered the big thinkers among the accepted managerial class. We're the dumb. We're the dum-dums. We're the college dropout, uneducated, poor audio and production quality, working class scumbags. Meanwhile, we can run circles around these elite establishment educated morons. What did that say? It says that we have no meritocracy. But anyway, let's continue because we're only 9 seconds in. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's hard. So I'm gonna replay the 9 seconds and then let it play. Just let me know.
Yeah,
I can't see you. Let me know if you want to stop it.
If the people who voted for Jill Stein, just Jill Stein, in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania had voted for Hillary instead, Donald Trump would have never become president. That's it, right? And so, I'm sure there's a lot of Cornel West fans out there. You live in a swing state, you vote for Cornel West, you're helping Trump become president.
This is so that's what I'm getting to. You just jumped to where I'm getting to. Is like, what is that? They're saying it as if like, yeah, there it is, mic drop. What is your point? Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the same. Either one get in does what? Like, this is such not a talking point anymore. You know why, Nick? We've lived through a Joe Biden presidency and we've lived through a Donald Trump presidency. And you can unequivocally say that the Joe Biden presidency is much more damaging. We got higher inflation. We're marching to 2 wars with China and Russia. Like, this is the police state funding. War funding is up. Like, what are they talking about? More deportations. I can keep going. Like, more deportations. ICE funding. It is considerably worse under Biden administration. So what does that mean? Oh, you're electing Trump. Okay, and what? What's the difference here? Go ahead.
Yeah, and for the life of me, I will never understand how this talking point ever worked. As someone who's been a third-party voter since 2016, I have no idea how this shit ever worked. So, do you guys understand? As a third-party voter, as a third-party activist, we want to be blamed for the election. The idea that you're Howie Hawkins, you're a moron like Howie Hawkins who supports third parties, but you don't want to be the reason why Democrats lose? You guys understand, as third party activists, us having the ability to be kingsmaker is the ultimate flex and demonstration of political power. We want that. So if we are the reasons why the Democrats lose, good, then maybe you should chase our votes. Maybe we have an opportunity to form a coalition where people can join a like-minded organization that have the power to become kingsmakers. Once you have an organization that is consistently costing one of the major political parties of this nation, that's when the real game begins. We never got there yet. You guys realize we haven't got there in the modern era. We never got there. And we uncovered this after this video. Dr. Cornel West is there. When you hit 5 to 6%, 5 to 6% makes you the kingmaker. And then, remember, Americans are bandwagoners. So you want to know when they want to join you? Remember what Crystal Ball said? When you got to win. So once you got the powerful political force, and then you the kingmaker, then people going to join your side. They're going to look at these motherfuckers, get demands. Look at these motherfuckers doing the goddamn thing. Then the rest of the people that jump on. And then we all know what the science says. The science says once you get 5% of the country engaged, you're ready for massive social change. Let alone 15. Imagine we got 15% on a third party. They kick us off a debate stage. The science say we will win at that point. But anyway, I'll let the video continue. There's a lot of breakdown on this.
So Aaron, I just thought of something. Aaron, when you clip this, maybe it could be something like, we don't care if voting for Cornel West elects Donald Trump. Maybe like the piss liberals off.
Aaron's good.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. But all right, let's finish the clip. I'm gonna back it up for context just so we can hear the whole thing. Let's play.
Yeah, if the people who voted for Jill Stein, just Jill Stein, in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania had voted for Hillary instead, Donald Trump would have never become president. That's it, right? And so, I'm sure there's a lot of Cornel West fans out there. You live in a swing state, you vote for Cornel West, you're helping Trump become president. That's it. And you can say, oh, well, it's Joe Biden's fault. He did this or that. No. It's your decision. You get to decide whether you want to help Donald Trump become president or you don't. And if you want to help him, then you should vote for Cornel West, or you should vote for Joe Manchin and his no labels ticket, or you can vote for, RFK Jr. if he decides to run third party. But if you don't want to help Trump become president, you got to vote for Joe Biden.
Nah.
That's it. Very simple. Now, I think messaging to voters who might actually make this decision is probably a little different, I would say, because
No, chastising works.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a joke to them, but it is a little different because I think he was getting down a path of saying, like, the messaging does have to be a little bit different because a person who would vote for Cornel West is slightly different than the person who would vote for Dr. Jill Stein.
Who's the clown that interrupted? Because as horrible as the first guy's take was, he was about to bring him back around to something that makes sense for his liberal logic.
Yeah.
Because y'all know you about to get on this point too, because he about to say, I said the quiet part out loud right now, because we hanging among ourselves. We're boys, right? We all part of the same class here. But when you talk to the workers, you gotta ease into this shit. That's the point he was about to make, which was actually not a bad point coming from his point of view. Then
right.
dumb moron comes in and says, no, I want this clip to be as horrible as possible. I don't want it to be any caveat. I want this to be black and white. I want to make this analysis as dumb as humanly possible. So play that part again. This guy actually, the guy in the white shirt tries to make the clip less unbearable, but the other guy wasn't having it. So go back like 10 seconds.
Yeah, but his laughter speaks to how they enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like tearing down the workers for wanting to exercise their democratic right of picking whoever they want.
They know they bullshitting them too. Like it's a game. It's like, just remember we talking about how they celebrated propaganda.
Yes,
they theorizing how can we trick these dumb workers to fall for this shit? How do we support? How do we trick the workers to support a guy who took COVID funds and sent it to the police? How do we trick people who are progressive minded to support a guy who funded ICE more than Donald Trump? It's a game to them. Like, can we trick these dum-dums? And he just say, oh, no, we should just shame him. He laughs. He's a part of the club. Anyway, let's continue. It's unbelievably fascinating on a class analysis. Like this, I didn't watch the whole clip. I'm glad I didn't see this part. Like this, this is actually a very interesting class analysis video. Like this is a good case study. Not no puns intended case study could be. But this is a good case study into Marxist analysis. It's like they know what class they are. They know the role in the class war. And now when they are safe among their own crowd, they are theorizing and having conversations on how they can wage a class war. Very interesting. But anyway, let's continue. We can let it finish.
But I want to say this: those that caved last time and voted for Trump.
Yeah.
I remember people were literally like, oh, I can't believe it, having nervous breakdowns. I'm going to have to vote for him because that was the point where the propaganda they were hearing about another Trump presidency was just too much.
I'll be embarrassed.
I'm gonna vote for him. But I hope some of you are watching now to hear what they think about you. Look what they think about you. They're laughing. It works anyway. Like, listen, this is about your freedom and who you want to vote for. They're laughing about persuading you to vote for a clown. So let's listen.
Now, I think messaging to voters who might actually make this decision is probably a little different, I would say, because
No, chastising works.
Yeah. Like, I do think you need to explain why these candidates would not be good candidates for president. I really do, because I think we could get tripped up in that, because I think
And how are you going to say that about Cornel West? How would you say how would the messaging be, John? I think his name is John. How would the messaging be, John, that these other candidates, and we're talking about Cornel West in our case, how would the messaging be that he can't be president or he's not prepared? Like, is that a joke? You mean the Harvard professor, the Princeton professor? Like, you talking about that guy? Like, is that a joke? Like maybe Marianne Williamson, but Cornel West, how exactly are you going to do that? Maybe he gives it away. Let's listen.
If you are one of these voters and you hear a bunch of people yelling at you to vote for Joe Biden and because you have to, I don't think it's going to be very effective. And I think you have to say why RFK Jr. is not a good choice, why Cornel West is not a good choice, why Joe Manchin, or whoever it may be, is not a good choice. So that is something that I think Democrats are going to have to figure out in the next year. Finally,
Ooh, they're
Sad,
fucked.
man.
If that's their
Yeah.
goal, is that what they have to do? Man, they're fucked.
And I think I think they know this, and maybe not this particular show, but collectively, they know messaging against Cornel West, who we've had on our shows, literally. CNN, Anderson Cooper had Cornel West on the show all the time. Don Lemon had it on the show all the time, especially with the stuff with George Floyd. Always brought him on and gave him respect. They weren't calling him crazy at that time. Nothing like that. They gave him respect. How exactly is that messaging going to go against Cornel West? What are you going to say? You can invite him on and try to rile him up, and he's going to run circles around you in logic, like we've already seen in interviews. But if you want to shout that out, go ahead.
Yeah, we have read super chats, and then I have.
Yeah, we're done.
It was a very fun episode. We'll be back on RBN Live tomorrow. Our Nick and CJ tomorrow. We see who will join us tomorrow.
Whoever can
Big shout out to Nicole, who is a new member that she also left for super chat as well. I thought I was already a member. Sorry about that. Much respect for RBN. Thanks for all you do. Big shout out to Nicole and Daryl, who also became a member and left a super chat. Big shout out to Darrell and Nicole. Keep up the fight against all warmongers, especially my old commander in scum, Obama. Vote Dr. West. I know this dude. That's Darrell. I met him in Seattle. Yeah. After my speech, I gave a worker strike back. Big shout out to Darrell. This boy is powerful. Very, very, very smart guy. I know exactly what this is. Glad to see you watching, man. Great guy. This is a great guy. I met him after the worker strike back event. Great to see your super chat, man. Great to see you again. If I'm around Seattle, we definitely got to meet up again. Very, very solid guy, Darrell is. Big shout out to him. I think I read this one before. I'll just make sure I do everyone in order. Thank you for the $5. ARJ 1997. I'm trying to help my dad come to terms that U.S. corporate media is lying about another proxy war and how our enemies are the villains. I really wish I had better advice for you guys. I have people that tell me this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have like bourgeoisie, imperialist-minded parents, and I don't got good experience for you guys. I believe I got good experience like with other people, but my dad told me from day one. My dad from day one when I was a kid was like, you know, this shit they telling you about racism is over. Don't listen to these motherfuckers. This shit is still bad. Remember, my dad grew up in Alabama. My dad grew up in Alabama during the height of the civil rights era. He used to go to war with white gang members. I'm not gonna say everything, but shit was real. And my dad made a very compelling argument, something that a lot of white Americans don't want to hear. But it makes sense to me and CJ. My dad was like, you think this racism shit is over in America? I fought with the Klan members. I fought with the racist people. They literally raising kids right now.
Yes.
Their kids are teachers. The kids are cops. My dad told me this when I was a kid. So I never had this experience dealing with like parents that are influenced by the corporate media. They wasn't where I'm at though. But my dad blind spot is Obama. For some reason, he's still like Obama, but he's like, fuck the Democratic Party. But I can't get him to say fuck Obama. It's weird. It's weird. But I don't push him that much because he's already where he need to be. Like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I don't gotta get you on everything. As long as you know the system is bullshit. No, I don't have to push you too much more. But the Obama thing with my dad is weird because other than that, this motherfucker don't fuck with the establishment. But then he's talking about like, damn, Nick, man, you understand? If the Republicans was blocking. I'm like, nigga, you right outside of Obama. Anyway, it's weird. So I just think my wins with him. He had one conversation I had because I was part of the Bernie campaign. And my dad liked Bernie because I did. Like my same with my mom and they like he liked Bernie. That's enough for me, like Bernie. And my dad became more socialist minded because of Trump. Like my dad, being the black boomer he is, he still does to this day. I don't fight him on it because fuck politicians. He still have intense Trump derangement syndrome. That boy, my dad hates Trump, right? So he saw Trump like fear mongering over socialism. He like, you know what the right does all the time. Because my dad hates Trump so much, he's like, I was having a conversation like, I don't know why they fear monger over socialism so much. It's not even that bad. I don't have any problem with people getting health care. I swear to God, he literally only had that position because he saw Republicans take the other side. It's literally that simple. So that's why he's telling people like, dude, Trump is great for us. Trump is radicalizing motherfuckers because I had a real life example of that. My dad became more socialist just despite Trump. Because this motherfucker was a capitalist his entire life. This motherfucker started sounding socialist, not because I pushed him, because fucking Trump. That's it. I took my win. So that's why I don't have good advice for you. Because I got kind of lucky. And my mom supports my politics no matter what, because she apolitical and she just trusts what I said. So I feel bad for people that got that struggle. It must suck. Thank for $2. Sorry, I'm just getting on the end of those stories. Thank for $2. Snork. China tour was for Pelosi's capture of lithium. Definitely some private market capitalist reasons for that. Doesn't surprise me at all. That what this whole Taiwan thing is about. Regarding like chips, right? And computers. That's why they really escalating against Taiwan, China. People like Carla Zod, Danny Hyphon, they also do great coverage talking about that as well. Then for $20, and this is a solidarity super chat. Much love, show justice, love in the chat. Just a few more. Thank you for the $4.99, Frank. I voted for Jill Stein, but why do they continue to leave out the electoral college's role in Trump's election and the fact that Dems don't do anything?
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you're talking about now. I see when you sent this comment. Yeah, they would never. They can never. Actually, I would say it like this: they will use any opportunity to punch left. So if you bring these things up, you don't have opportunity to punch left. Any story, any opportunity they have to shame people who don't vote Democrat, they're gonna take it. So if you talk about these two things, you don't got the opportunity to do that. That's the best analysis I have at this moment. CJ, feel free to interrupt me. I always like to riff.
No, go ahead. You're doing good.
Chats. You guys always lead thought-provoking chats, so much appreciated. We got two more that I see. Thank you for $10, Luca. You could have a good conversation with Bob TV Brown. He also worked hard for Bernie only to get disillusioned. Base Bob TV Brown. Bobby is not a leftist, but his message is no black agenda, no vote. I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. He's talking about the black agenda. I don't view I call myself a leftist because I think it's an accurate way to describe my views of progressive change. That's what the term leftist came from. It come from the French Revolution, the idea of progressing politics, progressing society. That's why I use it. But I'm not hung up on I talk about this all the time. I talk about all these terms because I think it's interesting. I think words have meaning. Language is a very interesting thing. In defining things and understanding what you are, your ideology. A lot of people run for that, but I actually find it to be a very interesting conversation. They're very interesting to talk about, but you don't put too much stock in it. I think you can do both at once. That's why on this channel I try to educate you guys on labels. But at the end of the day, if you got good politics, I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. I really don't.
Yeah. This is the reason why we changed the show name from the Post-Duopoly Left to just the Post-Duopoly Show, because we are moving towards that of no labels, but because we're still in this red-blue game, it's just easier. Instead of saying, this is what I believe in, blah, 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 we can just say, I'm a leftist or radical. It's easier for us to just say it that way. So I get it. I get both ways. Go ahead.
Yeah. Plus, you guys know I'm very stubborn. I like to influence people to my position. So I'm like, if I think this is what it is, I like to try and see how many people I can pull to my position. Thank you for $5, Janice. They are totally fucked. They have no argument. Wait till our 7 tomorrow on Tuesday. That's why I want to say it for Tuesday. I don't want to rush it because the article that dropped, how Democrats are panicking.
I saw that.
If you because the electoral college, you gotta be ahead by at least 7-8 points. These motherfuckers like 3 to 4. Within the margin, that's horrible. Biden failed to deliver on any of his promises to the left. Not even to the left, just to the people. That's why it's so bad. Do you get $2,000 checks?
No.
Do you have to be a leftist to be upset about that? That's the problem with Biden. They're gonna pretend in their analysis. They're gonna pretend it's only the left that's costing them. No, it's ordinary people. They're not even fucking I don't know anyone who like Biden. Once again, I know I'm influenced by my more radical red state background, but I'm looking at the people they need to win. They need to influence more people to be to beat Republicans, to vote for them, and they're not going to do it. Now, a lot of people know Joe Biden is a war criminal. A lot of people know that he'd rather send money to Ukraine instead of show up for the American people, and that's not even the right way we're talking about. That's just reality. So good luck campaign for that. I'm gonna laugh. I cannot wait to see Bernie Sanders try to campaign for this motherfucker. You guys know we're gonna roast this motherfucker, right?
All day long.
Right now he's not doing anything because the election not starting. Wait till the election starts. You're gonna have Bernie Sanders do a campaign rally for Jim Crow Joe. Hell, you're gonna have AOC Pete Buttigieg presents why you should vote for Joe Biden. We know the squad and we know progressive politics is essentially dead. But that's gonna be the death now. I'm predicting it right now. It didn't happen yet, but once you see the videos of Bernie Sanders campaigning for one of the most unpopular presidents in modern age, once you have AOC trying to explain why he got support the Ukraine war, once this shit really starts, that's when things get fun, guys. We still haven't got fun yet. Wait till shit really gets fun. Wait till Bernie Sanders is gonna have to make the argument. Right now, he's like, I endorse Biden. A few months before the election, you're really gonna have to explain why. And those are gonna be hilarious clips that we're gonna break down.
Last one, I think. Yeah.
AR, this last one that we're gonna read today. Thank you for $5. ARJ. My dad knows that Trump is a scapegoat for capitalism, but still does have Trump derangement syndrome. Like, I don't care how people feel about Trump as long as you get to the right destination.
Yeah.
The problem with Trump derangement syndrome blinded so many brain progressives that they shifted to the right. Donald Trump derangement syndrome literally allowed people to compromise their morals and their values. What happened to my dad is not that. My dad got Donald Trump derangement syndrome so much he literally shifted to the left in spite of them. Like, I never heard my dad say socialist shit before, but he said unprompted. Like, I wasn't like unprompted. He said the right always fear mongering about socialism. Socialism not even that bad. I was like, whoa, what? He didn't say he was a socialist. He just said socialism not even that bad.
It's not that bad. That's a move forward, though.
I take that.
That's a move forward.
Anyway,
I'll put out our outro video. No, this is our outro video. I'm just gonna play the real MAGA versus Fed MAGA clip as our outro video. If you haven't seen this, it's funny. Real MAGA, and then the Feds who are pretending to be MAGA show up and they have a little fight. So this is how we're gonna end. Anything else, Nick, before we head out?
I'll see you guys tomorrow and Nick and Night on Wednesday night. See you guys then. I'll pass it to you guys for the outro vid. See you guys.
Yeah, this is a very funny video. We're gonna end with. I'm not gonna say very funny video. I'll let you classify it yourself. But you see the ones with stuff over their face. You've seen them before. It's the Feds dress up as MAGA or some sort of fascist organization. Everybody knows these are the Feds. They march in straight lines and stuff like that. They show up in U-Hauls and stuff like that. So, and then you have the real people who are part of the MAGA community. They clash at this rally, and I want to play that. Now, before I play that, there was a couple of shout outs. Just want to make sure those who are watching, make sure you check out our website. We will be adding some things. There's going to be a tab added to where you can, those at the Boston chapter, you'll be able to put in a ticket for help for the Boston chapter. We're adding that to our website, so make sure you go to our website. It's not added yet, but you can go to our website to check that out. And another thing I wanted to shout out is our Substack. If you want to get notifications when we go live or when we drop clips, we send out one email a day and it has like all of our clips you can watch, and then whatever live streams we have that day. Sorry if I hit the mic. And then last but certainly not least, this thing here, as Nick alluded to, having some housing issues. So we're back at raising funds. CJ fundraiser for housing. California is expensive. It's about $7,000 for me to find another place. My family has already helped me with about $4,000, so I still need about $3,000 left. And that's where you can send if you have any ability to donate. Cash App, Mutual Aid Forever, and Venmo. You can use Mutual Aid Forever or flip it and say Forever Mutual Aid. Either one of those will work for Venmo. But we're looking to try to raise about $3,000 to secure housing. Right now, I'm staying with relatives for the couple of weeks, and then I got to go to another relative's house. But until then, or until I raise this money, so if you're able to donate, please do. I will also tweet this out, or the main account with the person who runs our main account will tweet this out also. So if I put it up too quickly and you weren't able to get everything, don't worry about it. We will tweet that out. Now let's watch this video: Red MAGA versus the Fed MAGA.
Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Back up! Back up! Get out of here! Get the fuck out! Go! You too! Hold on! Go! Get the fuck out! Be gone, bitch! Get the fuck out! Be gone! fucking racist motherfucker. Casey, you're a faggot, dude. Let me bro, what's up? You saying all that shit about me? Go. Go! Get the fuck out of here, dude. We're not here. We're not here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out! Go, bitches. Go, bitches. Go, bitches. He didn't talk. I'm gonna fucking time. You're calling everybody. Fuck yeah, dog. Bitch, yeah. Fuck yeah, dog. Get the fuck out. T-Master! T-Master! Yeah! T-Master! T-Master! The way you talked about my brother is fucking disgusting. Do not talk to me. T-Master! 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 Take the mask off! You guys are taking the streets. T-Master! T-Master! You guys are taking the streets back, aren't you? T-Master! You fucking racist piece of shit! Come on, come here! Fuck you, Nazi! So, okay, guys, let's go back.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1. We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you've just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Fucking amazing. Do your mom know you do this?
That I'm a police officer?
No, that you harass people of color.
I'm not harassing you.
Do you? He's harassing me. He just pulled me over for no reason. And now his buddy is taking forever. They just called back up. When I asked him to call his supervisor, he didn't want to do that. Now he just called back up.
Now that you're calm?
I've been
now
calm.
that we have your ID?
I've been calm.
I've been more than
That's
happy
all
to
he
talk to
wanted. He wanted to intimidate me to show that he can get me to give him my ID. Now that is a form of kidnapping. That's a false arrest. He is not supposed to do that. But I gave it to him because my son is in the car. And if he would have shot my son, then we would have been on some other shit right now. So can I please have my information back? I want to make sure that my license plate is in front of my car because I know it is.
You'll have your
And
information
I
back
need you to hurry up because I'm on my way to take my son somewhere.
You'll have your information when we're done.
Make sure you're recording him too.
Okay.
And make sure your body cam is on. What's your name? Gordon 282. Goodman 282. Okay. This is what happened when you know and you talk too much. They don't like for you to talk and speak up for yourself. So they call other officers for a child and a woman.
Now that you're calm and we have your ID, would you like to speak to our supervisor?
Who's your supervisor?
I'm asking if you'd like to speak to him.
Who's your? So I've been asked for your supervisor.
Okay. So you still want him to come here?
Yep.
Okay. Adam 23 to 3071.
Where's your headquarters?
Station.
Where's your station?
Would you mind responding?
924. Is that the station?
Where's your station? Where's your station?
901 East 14th Street.
9 what?
901 East 14th Street.
901 East 14th Street. Why is he here?
Because your behavior was erratic.
How is my behavior erratic?
Aggressive and confrontational.
Aggressive. See,
yes,
this is the words that they use to make you seem like you're irate when you know what you're talking about. So when you defend yourself, they start to use irate, erratic, threatening, vicious. I thought I saw something. That's what they start to do. They use these words so they could defend themselves for pulling you over for a false reason. Please know your laws. Read the Black Laws Dictionary because they don't go by the same laws that they say that they put you under. Matter of fact, they don't even have the same jurisdiction that you have. They're private citizens, which means they can harass and pull you over and gun you down in the street and nothing will happen to them because they're private citizens. But if you go after their insurance, then you can dig into their pockets because the insurance companies don't like that. When you go after insurance companies for police falsely pulling people over, they have to keep giving $1 million settlements. They keep murdering people for no reason. The insurance companies don't like that. So when you know your laws and you go after them in the right way, then you can know how to really get them where it hurts. So I got my son recording.